The thermometer read 103.4 degrees, and Maya Johnson's hands wouldn't stop shaking. "Mama, I'm cold." Marcus's small voice cut through the howling wind that battered their farmhouse like an angry fist. 8 years old, and he'd never been this sick. Never burned this hot while his lips turned blue and his teeth chattered hard enough to hurt. Maya pressed another cool cloth to her son's forehead, her own fever rising, but hers was pure terror. The blizzard had locked them in. No car could navigate the 3 miles of unpaved road to the highway. No ambulance could reach them. The landline was dead, knocked out by ice-heavy power lines that had snapped 2 hours ago. Her cell phone showed one flickering bar, but every call to 911 dropped before connecting. They were alone. Montana winters were brutal, but this storm was biblical. The Weather Service had called it a once-in-50-years event before the power died. 40 below wind chill. 0 visibility. The kind of cold that killed in minutes. "Jesus, please," Maya whispered, not sure if it was a prayer or just desperate noise. She'd been a woman of faith once, back when her husband was alive, back when she believed God noticed people like her, poor, black, struggling in a town where she could count the other black families on one hand. That faith had died with Daniel 3 years ago, crushed under a grain silo collapse that took him and left her with a mortgage, a truck that barely ran, and a son who had his father's smile. She'd been rebuilding that faith lately, piece by fragile piece. But tonight, with Marcus burning up and the storm screaming outside, it felt like God had gone deaf again. The kerosene lamp flickered. She had maybe 3 hours of fuel left. Marcus whimpered, and Maya's heart cracked a little more. She'd given him the last of the children's Tylenol an hour ago. His temperature had dropped to 102.8, then climbed right back up. WebMD, loaded before the internet died, said anything over 104 was dangerous. Brain damage dangerous. She checked the thermometer again, 103.6. Rising. "Mama's here, baby. Mama's got you." She kept her voice steady even as panic clawed at her throat. She'd seen a documentary once about frontier mothers who'd lost children to fever, helpless and alone. She'd cried watching it, never imagining she'd understand that particular hell. The wind hit the house so hard the windows rattled. Then came the pounding. Maya's head snapped toward the front door. Heavy, desperate thuds that barely registered over the storm's roar. "Please." A male voice, muffled and rough. "Somebody. We're freezing out here." Every instinct screamed danger. Women alone didn't open doors to strange men at midnight, especially not in the middle of nowhere. She'd been raised better than that. Daniel had made her promise, in those last lucid moments at the hospital, that she'd be careful, that she'd protect herself and Marcus. But the pounding came again, weaker this time. "There's 25 of us. Storm caught us on the highway. Please." 25 people? Maya's mind reeled. She crept to the window, keeping low, and pulled back the curtain's edge. Her breath caught. The porch light, battery-powered, thank God, illuminated a scene from a nightmare. Men in leather and denim, covered in snow and ice, their faces hidden by frozen beards and crusted balaclavas. Motorcycles, at least a dozen visible, half buried in snowdrifts. The lead man had collapsed against her door, his knuckles bloody from pounding. Bikers. Maya's throat went dry. She'd seen the documentaries about motorcycle clubs. The drugs, the violence, the things they did to women. Her nearest neighbor was 2 miles away, the Hendersons, an elderly couple who couldn't help even if they heard screaming over this wind. She should keep the door locked. Stay quiet. Wait them out. But then the lead man slumped sideways, and in the porch light, she saw his lips, purple-blue, the color of death. Behind him, another man was trying to shield a third who wasn't moving at all, just a limp body sagging between them. They were dying. Marcus coughed behind her, a wet rattling sound that shot ice through her veins. Her son needed help she couldn't give him. These men needed help she could give. Daniel's voice echoed in her memory. "You've got a good heart, Maya. Don't ever let this world make it hard. God help me, she breathed, and slid the deadbolt. The door flew open, and the storm roared in with the smell of leather, gasoline, and frost. The lead man nearly fell across her threshold. Up close, he was massive, 6'3", maybe 240, with a scar bisecting his left eyebrow and eyes that had seen violence. "Thank you," he rasped through cracked lips. "Thank you, Jesus Christ, thank you." Maya stepped back as they poured in, big men, hard men, faces she'd crossed the street to avoid. They tracked in snow and desperation. Some could barely walk. One man's fingers were black with frostbite. Another was crying, actual tears freezing on his cheeks. "Kitchen and living room," Maya heard herself say. "Get out of those wet clothes. I'll get blankets in." "Ma'am." The scarred man gripped her shoulder, and Maya flinched. He immediately released her. "Sorry. Didn't mean to scare you. Name's Reaper. Club president. We won't hurt you, you have my word. We just need to warm up, wait out the storm. We'll be gone by dawn." Reaper. What kind of man called himself Reaper? But his eyes were honest, desperate in a way that violence couldn't fake. "There's a boy," Maya said. "My son. He's very sick. High fever. If any of you cause trouble, we won't." Reaper's voice was iron. "You saved our lives. We ain't the kind to repay that with evil, whatever you might think of men like us." 25 bikers filled her small house, peeling off frozen leather, huddling near the fireplace she'd kept burning. They were quiet, almost reverent, as if they understood the sanctuary they'd been given. Maya grabbed every blanket she owned, every towel, moving on autopilot while her mind screamed that she'd just invited danger into her home, next to her dying son. She was returning from the linen closet when she saw him. One of the bikers, younger than the others, maybe early 30s, with a clean-shaven face that didn't match the rough edges of his companions. No tattoos visible on his neck or hands. His leather jacket looked expensive, newer than the worn cuts the others wore. He was standing in the hallway, near Marcus's bedroom. "What are you doing?" Maya's voice came out sharp. The man raised his hands immediately, non-threatening. "I heard coughing. Sounded bad." His accent was different too, educated, Midwest generic. "I have some medical training. Not a doctor, but I might be able to help." Every maternal instinct screamed no. But Marcus coughed again, that awful wet sound, and Maya found herself nodding. The young biker, the others called him Ghost, she'd heard, followed her into Marcus's room. He moved with surprising gentleness, sitting carefully on the bed's edge. "Hey there, buddy. I'm Ghost. Your mama says you're not feeling so good." Marcus's fever-bright eyes found the stranger. "Are you a real ghost?" "Sometimes feels like it." Ghost smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. He looked at Maya. "May I check his temperature?" She handed him the thermometer with trembling fingers. 103.8 degrees. Ghost's jaw tightened. "How long?" 5 hours. I gave him Tylenol but we need to bring this down fast." Ghost stood abruptly, rolling up his sleeves with practiced efficiency. "I need lukewarm water, not cold, lukewarm, towels, and if you have any rubbing alcohol." I thought alcohol baths were dangerous. Not to bathe him. To wipe down his feet and hands. Evaporative cooling, safer than ice baths. He was already moving, touching Marcus's lymph nodes, checking his pupils with the pen light from his keychain. "Has he had seizures? Confusion?" "No, just fever and coughing." "Good. Probably viral, but we need to manage the fever." He worked with the confidence of someone who'd done this before, many times before. Not casual first aid training. Something more. For the next 40 minutes, Maya watched this stranger, this biker called Ghost, bring her son's temperature down with a skill that bordered on professional. Lukewarm compresses rotated every 5 minutes. Precise elevation of limbs. Gentle checks of responsiveness. He talked to Marcus the whole time, distracting him with silly jokes and questions about his favorite dinosaurs. By 2 a.m., the thermometer read 101.2. Marcus was sleeping peacefully. Maya slumped against the bedroom wall, exhaustion and relief turning her legs to water. "Thank you," she whispered. "How did you know?" "I've seen fever before." Ghost stood, washing his hands in the bowl of water with methodical precision. "He should be okay now, but wake him every 2 hours to check. If the fever spikes again or if he seems confused, it's hospital time, storm or no storm. The roads. Then we'll figure something out." His eyes met hers, and Maya saw something unexpected there, genuine concern. Not the hard indifference she'd expected from a man who rode with a motorcycle club. Who was he? Ghost started toward the door, then paused. "You took a big risk letting us in. Woman alone with a child. That took courage." "Or stupidity," Maya said. "No." He shook his head. "Compassion. That's rarer than courage." Something flickered across his face, pain, maybe regret. "Get some rest, Ms. Johnson." Maya Johnson. "Rest, Ms. Johnson. I'll keep an ear out for Marcus." He left, and Maya sat beside her sleeping son, watching his chest rise and fall in peaceful rhythm. Through the doorway, she could hear the bikers settling down, quiet voices, the crackle of her fireplace, Reaper giving orders to keep noise down because of the boy. Maybe they weren't monsters. Maybe her risk had been the right choice. She dozed off sometime around 3, exhausted beyond measure. When she woke at 3:47 a.m., she needed water. The house was silent except for snoring from the living room. She crept toward the kitchen, careful not to wake anyone. Then she saw the light. A small flashlight beam, coming from her pantry. Ghost was crouched on the floor, surrounded by dark canvas duffel bags Maya didn't recognize. One was open. In the flashlight's glow, she saw stacks of cash, thick, rubber-banded stacks that filled the entire bag. Her sharp intake of breath betrayed her. Ghost's head snapped up. His eyes found hers in the darkness. For 3 heartbeats, neither moved. Then Ghost stood slowly, hands visible, and Maya saw the blood on his knuckles, fresh blood that hadn't been there when he'd treated Marcus. "You weren't supposed to see this," he said quietly, his educated accent stripped of its earlier warmth. "All business now, cold calculation. Now we both have a problem." Maya's mouth opened to scream. A hand clamped over it from behind, strong and calloused. Reaper's scarred face appeared over her shoulder, his voice a low rumble in her ear. "Don't. Please don't. I really don't want to scare you." But Maya was already terrified. Because Reaper was staring at Ghost with an expression that wasn't surprise. It was betrayal. "Ghost," Reaper said, his voice deadly calm. "You said the money was secure. You said the package was clean." Ghost's hand moved slowly to his waistband. Maya's eyes went to Marcus's bedroom door, 15 feet away, might as well be a mile. "Reaper," Ghost said carefully. "Let her go. She's got a kid. She's not part of this." "She is now," Reaper said. "She saw the money. And you know what that means." Maya's racing mind caught on one word: package. These weren't stranded travelers. This was something else. Something that had nothing to do with the storm and everything to do with those bags of cash and the blood on Ghost's hands. She'd let wolves into her home. And her son was sleeping 15 feet away. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 2. Maya didn't remember Reaper releasing her. She didn't remember stumbling back to Marcus's room, locking the door with trembling fingers, or dragging the dresser in front of it with strength born of pure maternal terror. She didn't remember sitting on the floor beside her son's bed, Daniel's old hunting rifle across her lap, watching the doorknob for 6 straight hours while Marcus slept peacefully, oblivious to the nightmare unfolding around him. What she remembered was the silence. After Reaper's hand left her mouth, after Ghost had carefully zipped the duffel bag closed, after those 3 eternal seconds where she'd been certain she was about to die, there had been whispers. Low, urgent conversation in her kitchen that she couldn't make out through the pounding of her own heartbeat. Then nothing. No violence. No threats. No one tried her locked door. Just silence, and the storm's dying rage, and her own ragged breathing in the darkness. Now, pale dawn light crept through Marcus's curtains. His fever was down to 99.1, thank God, thank Jesus, thank whoever was listening. But Maya couldn't feel relief. She could only feel the weight of the rifle and the certainty that she'd made a choice last night that was going to destroy everything. She should call the police. But her cell phone was in the kitchen, and between her and that kitchen were 25 men who'd brought bags of blood money into her home. Men who knew she'd seen something she shouldn't have. The house was too quiet. Maya eased the dresser away from the door with aching muscles, then cracked it open. The hallway was empty. She crept forward, rifle raised despite having never shot at anything but tin cans with Daniel. The living room was abandoned. Blankets lay folded neatly on her couch. The fireplace had been cleaned, ashes disposed of. Her kitchen was spotless, cleaner than she'd left it. On the table sat $500 bills weighted down by her sugar bowl, and a note in precise handwriting. For the food and shelter. We are grateful. R. Maya's hands shook as she picked up the money. $500. Like they'd been guests at a bed and breakfast, not criminals who'd terrified her in the middle of the night. She checked the pantry. The duffel bags were gone. All of them. They'd vanished like ghosts, like the storm had brought them and then swept them away. Maya's knees buckled, and she caught herself against the counter. It was over. Whatever nightmare she'd stumbled into, it was over. They were gone. She and Marcus were safe. She almost believed it. Then she heard the sound. Low at first, a distant rumble like thunder, but the sky outside was crystal blue, the kind of painfully beautiful morning that only came after brutal storms. The sound grew louder, deeper, a mechanical roar that vibrated through the floorboards. Maya ran to the front window. Her breath stopped. They came over the ridge like an army, an ocean of chrome and leather and roaring engines that caught the morning sun and threw it back in blinding waves. Motorcycles in perfect V formation, riding 4 abreast down her long driveway, churning through the snow with military precision. Dozens of them. No, hundreds. They kept coming, pouring over the ridge in an endless stream, their engines creating a thunder that shook her windows and sent icicles crashing from her roof. Maya's mind couldn't process the numbers. 50 bikes. 100. 200. More. They spread across her property like a flood, surrounding her house in concentric circles, each rider stopping in perfect synchronization until the engines cut off in a wave of sudden, terrifying silence. 1,500 men. Maybe more. All wearing the same patch on their backs, a winged skull with Hell's Angels MC curved above it in Gothic script. This wasn't a rescue party. This was an execution. Mama? Marcus's small voice came from behind her. Why are there so many motorcycles? Maya spun, placing herself between her son and the window. Baby, I need you to go back to your room. Right now. Don't come out until Mama says, okay? But. Now, Marcus. She'd never used that tone with him, sharp enough to cut. His eyes went wide, and he ran. The front door opened. Maya hadn't heard anyone on the porch, hadn't heard a knock. One moment the door was closed, the next it swung inward with casual authority, and a man stepped into her home like he owned it. He wasn't what she expected. No leather, no visible tattoos, no facial scars or prison-hard eyes. He wore dark jeans, a charcoal wool coat that probably cost more than her truck, and wire-rimmed glasses that gave him the air of a college professor. Mid-50s, African American, with silver threading through his close-cropped hair and the kind of calm, intelligent face that belonged in a corporate boardroom. But his eyes, dark and utterly unreadable, held something that made every instinct Maya had scream danger. Ms. Johnson. His voice was cultured, almost gentle. I apologize for the early hour and the dramatic entrance. My name is Marcus Webb. People call me Kingpin. I'm the president of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club, Northern Rockies Charter. He smiled, and it was warm, disarming, the kind of smile that made you want to trust him. May I come in? We have a great deal to discuss. He was already in. The question was pure theater. Maya's hand found the rifle she'd left against the wall. Get out of my house. Kingpin's eyes flicked to the weapon, then back to her face. No fear. No reaction at all. I understand you're frightened. But I'm not here to hurt you, Miss Johnson. In fact, I'm here to thank you. Thank me? Maya's voice cracked. You bring an army to my house at dawn and... The storm was unprecedented. You sheltered 25 men who would have frozen to death. That's an act of mercy that deserves recognition. He gestured to her couch. May I sit? This conversation will be easier if we're both calm. I don't want to be calm. I want you gone. I know. Something flickered in those dark eyes, sympathy, maybe genuine. But I'm afraid we have a complication, Miss Johnson. One that involves you whether you like it or not. He sat anyway, unbuttoning his coat with unhurried precision. Maya kept the rifle pointed at him, even though she could feel 1,500 pairs of eyes outside, watching through her windows, waiting for a signal she didn't understand. The men you sheltered last night, Kingpin said, were not members of my organization. Maya's finger tightened on the trigger. You just said. I said I was grateful for your mercy. I didn't say they were my brothers. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. The man who called himself Reaper. His real name is Michael Torres, FBI special agent. The man who helped your son, who went by Ghost. Daniel Cross. Also FBI. The 25 people you saved were a federal extraction team. The words didn't make sense. Maya shook her head. No. They were bikers. They had motorcycles, the patches. Fake. Very good fakes, but fake nonetheless. Kingpin's voice was patient, like he was explaining something to a slow student. Agent Cross spent 3 years infiltrating my organization. Deep cover. He rode with us, ate with us, earned our trust. 2 weeks ago, we were contracted to transport $8 million in cash from a Mexican cartel contact in Billings to a distribution point in Seattle. Standard run. We've done dozens like it. Maya's stomach turned to ice. I don't want to know this. I don't. But you need to know, Ms. Johnson, because Agent Cross stole that money. Kingpin's calm never wavered. Somewhere between Billings and Seattle, he and his team staged a hijacking. Made it look like we'd been hit by a rival club. Killed 2 of my men to sell the story. Then they vanished with $8 million of cartel money. That's not, I don't know anything about. The storm caught them. Kingpin continued as if she hadn't spoken. Bad luck for them, good luck for you, or so they thought. They needed shelter, and here was this isolated farmhouse, owned by a single mother with no criminal record, no connections to law enforcement or organized crime. Perfect cover. They were dying. Maya's voice rose. They were freezing to death on my porch. Oh, that part was real. The storm was real, the hypothermia was real. But the choice to come here, to this specific house? Kingpin tilted his head. That was very deliberate, Ms. Johnson. Agent Cross has been planning his exit strategy for months. He knew this property. He knew you. The room tilted. Maya grabbed the back of a chair to steady herself. That's insane. I never met any of them before last night. Are you certain? Kingpin's eyes held hers. Think carefully. A stranger who pays a little too much attention to your son at the grocery store? Someone asking questions about your late husband at church? An agent doesn't just pick a safe house at random. He studies it. Studies you. Maya's mind raced back through the last few months. Had there been someone? She couldn't remember. Couldn't think past the thunder of her own heartbeat. I don't believe you, she whispered. That's unfortunate, because the people I answer to, the cartel whose money was stolen, they absolutely believe you were part of this. Kingpin stood, brushing invisible lint from his coat. They believe this farmhouse was a planned waypoint. They believe your agent Cross's accomplice. And they want their money back, Ms. Johnson. All $8 million. Plus interest, paid in blood. I don't have any money. I can barely pay my mortgage. I know. For the first time, Kingpin's calm cracked, just slightly. I've researched you thoroughly since last night. Widow, working 2 jobs, struggling to raise a son alone. You're nobody, Miss Johnson. No offense intended, but you're exactly the kind of nobody a smart agent would use and discard. Then tell them. Maya's voice broke. Tell your cartel friends I'm nobody. I didn't know. I was just trying to save people from freezing. I have told them. Kingpin walked to her window, looking out at his army of riders. They don't care. The cartel doesn't deal in mercy or second chances. They deal in examples. If they let $8 million vanish without consequences, they look weak. Weakness gets you killed in our world. Then what do you want from me? The tears came now, hot and helpless. Kingpin turned back to face her. I want Agent Cross. I want my money. I want the evidence he stole along with it, financial records that could bring down my entire organization and several others. You have 24 hours to produce all 3. I can't. I don't know where he is. Then you'd better learn. Kingpin's voice hardened, just a fraction. 24 hours, Ms. Johnson. If I don't have Cross, the money, and those records by dawn tomorrow, my hands are tied. The cartel will send their own people. And what they do to you and your son. He paused. Let's just say my methods would seem merciful by comparison. Maya's legs gave out. She hit her knees on the hardwood floor, rifle clattering beside her. Please. My son is 8 years old. He's sick. He doesn't know anything about any of this. I know. Kingpin crouched in front of her, and his eyes held something that might have been regret. For what it's worth, I believe you, Ms. Johnson. I believe you're an innocent woman who made a compassionate choice. But belief doesn't change reality. Cross used you. Now you're part of this whether you want to be or not. He stood, heading for the door. How? Maya gasped. How am I supposed to find him in 24 hours? Kingpin paused at the threshold. He left you something. Check your son's room. Then he was gone, and the thunder of 1,500 motorcycles starting in unison shook Maya's house to its foundation. She watched through the window as they left in the same perfect formation, disappearing over the ridge like a nightmare retreating with the dawn. When the last engine faded, Maya ran to Marcus's room. He was sitting on his bed, holding his toy box, confusion written across his fever-flushed face. Mama, look what I found. On top of his action figures sat a black duffel bag, smaller than the ones she'd seen last night. Maya's hands shook as she unzipped it. Cash. Stacks and stacks of $100 bills, rubber-banded in neat bundles. She didn't need to count it to know there was a fortune here. Tucked on top was a note, written in the same careful handwriting that had treated her son's fever. Insurance. They'll kill you if they don't believe you. Use this to run. I'm sorry. DC. Maya's vision blurred. $500,000. Blood money. Cartel money. Evidence that would make every word Kingpin said true in the eyes of any law enforcement. She could run. Take Marcus, take this money, disappear somewhere the cartel and the FBI and the Hells Angels couldn't find them. Start over with a new name, a new life. But they'd find her. People with this kind of reach always did. And Marcus deserved better than a life spent looking over his shoulder. Mama? Marcus's voice was small. Are you crying? Maya wiped her eyes roughly. No, baby. Mama's just tired. Okay. He dug through his toy box, then held up something that made Maya's heart stop. Oh. And Mommy, why did the nice man with the medicine leave his phone in my toy box? A cell phone. Basic, black, a burner model with no identifying marks. Ghost, Agent Daniel Cross, had left her more than money. He'd left her a way to find him. Maya took the phone with trembling fingers. It was powered on, battery at 87%. The screen showed no contacts, no call history. Just a single app, an encrypted messaging program she didn't recognize. One unread message waited. Her thumb hovered over it. Opening that message meant crossing a line. Meant admitting she was part of this now, diving deeper into a nightmare that had already swallowed everything she thought she knew about her own safety. But outside her window, the snow-covered field stretched empty and beautiful in the morning sun. Peaceful. Like the army of bikers had never been there at all. Like the threat hanging over her and Marcus was just another bad dream. Maya knew better. She'd learned last night that monsters were real, that they wore human faces and spoke in polite voices and left thank-you notes on kitchen tables. She opened the message. I know you hate me. You should. But they'll kill you if you can't give them something. Check the bag again. Bottom panel, false lining. GPS coordinates. That's where I'll be at noon. Come alone, or I disappear forever and you die with my secrets. I really am sorry, Maya. Your son deserved better than what I brought to your door. Ghost. Maya dropped the phone like it had burned her. Marcus was watching her with his father's eyes, trusting and innocent. 24 hours until the cartel came. 12 hours until whatever trap Ghost had set at those coordinates. And somewhere in the shrinking space between, Maya Johnson, nobody, widow, struggling single mother, had to find a way to save her son from monsters she'd never known existed. She looked at the money in the duffel bag. Then at the phone. Then at Marcus, who was playing with his action figures like this was just another morning, like his mother's world hadn't just burned to ash around them. Marcus, baby? Maya's voice came out steady somehow. How would you like to go on an adventure today? He looked up, eyes bright. Like a real adventure? With treasure and everything? Something like that. Maya forced a smile that felt like broken glass. But first, Mama needs to make a phone call. She picked up Ghost's burner, stared at the GPS coordinates glowing on the screen, and wondered if she was about to save her son's life or deliver them both straight into hell. Outside, the Montana sun climbed higher, burning off the last of the storm's snow. Beautiful, peaceful, and utterly indifferent to the woman standing at her window, holding blood money and a dead man's phone, trying to decide which kind of monster to trust. The clock was ticking. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 3. Maya had never been good with technology. Daniel used to tease her about it, how she still wrote grocery lists on paper, how she'd rather call than text, how the smartphone he'd bought her 2 Christmases ago still had half its features unexplored. She was a woman who trusted what she could hold in her hands, soil, wood, the weight of her son in her arms. But now, sitting at her kitchen table while Marcus ate cereal and hummed a song from school, Maya stared at Ghost's burner phone like it held the secrets of the universe. Which, she was beginning to realize, it might. The GPS coordinates from the hidden message glowed on the screen: 47.2345 degrees north, 112.8976 degrees west. She'd punched them into her ancient laptop, thank God the internet was back, and found a location 50 miles northwest. An abandoned ranger station in the Lewis and Clark National Forest. Remote. Isolated. The kind of place where people disappeared. Noon. Ghost would be there at noon. It was 8:47 a.m. now. 3 hours and 13 minutes to decide if she was brave enough, or foolish enough, to walk into whatever trap he'd set. Maya's finger hovered over the phone's screen. The encrypted messaging app, something called Shadowlink, showed only that one message from Ghost. But there had to be more. There had to be some clue, some explanation for why a federal agent had turned her life into a nightmare. She tapped the app settings icon. A menu appeared, stark and minimal. No contact list. No call history. Just 3 options: messages, encrypted files, emergency protocol. Maya's pulse quickened. She selected encrypted files. A password prompt appeared. Of course. Ghost wouldn't leave his secrets unprotected. Maya almost laughed, hysterical, exhausted laughter that would have turned to sobs if she'd let it. She was a single mother who balanced checkbooks on paper and still used a flip phone until last year. What did she know about encrypted files and Marcus's birthdate? The thought hit her like lightning. Ghost had spent time with Marcus, had asked him questions. What's your favorite dinosaur? When's your birthday, buddy? August 14th. August 14th, 2017. Maya's hands shook as she typed, 08142017. Access denied. She tried variations. 20170814, 081417. Marcus 08. Nothing worked. Mama, can I watch cartoons? Marcus asked, cereal milk dribbling down his chin. Not yet, baby. Maya's mind raced. What else would Ghost use? Something Marcus said, something about their conversation while he'd treated the fever. What's your favorite dinosaur? Velociraptor. They're the smartest. Smart choice, Marcus. Smart boys make the best dinosaurs. Maya typed, Velociraptor. The screen flickered. Access granted. 23 files appeared, each with cryptic names. Blacksite_transfers. Wade_offshore. Cartel_payroll. Operation_Shadowfall. Maya's stomach dropped. These weren't just files. These were evidence. She opened Blacksite_transfers. A PDF loaded, dense with financial records. Bank accounts in the Cayman Islands, wire transfers ranging from $50,000 to $2 million, names she didn't recognize but dates she could read. The transfers went back 3 years, dozens of them, all originating from a single account, FBI Discretionary OPS Fund, Montana Field Office. Maya wasn't a forensic accountant, but even she could see the pattern. Money going out, money coming back, always in amounts that would fly under standard oversight. And at the bottom of each transfer record, an authorization signature, ASST, Director Thomas Wade. She opened another file, Wade_offshore. Photographs this time. A middle-aged white man in an expensive suit shaking hands with someone whose face had been circled in red digital ink. The caption read, Assistant Director Thomas Wade meeting with Mateo, El Coyote, Salazar, Sinaloa Cartel Financial Operator. Recorded September 12, 2024. Tucson, Arizona. Maya's hands went numb. Ghost wasn't stealing from the Hells Angels. He was stealing evidence. Evidence that the FBI, or at least part of it, was working with the cartels they were supposed to be fighting. The next file made her blood turn to ice, Operation_Shadowfall. A mission brief, stamped classified in red across the top. She skimmed the dense text, her horror mounting with each paragraph. Utilizing cartel funds to finance off-book operations, targets include whistleblowers, investigative journalists, and federal witnesses deemed threats to operational security, sanitized through MC Transport Network, plausible deniability maintained through use of Hells Angels as unwitting couriers. At the bottom, a list of names. 17 people. Next to each name, terminated. Maya's vision blurred. 17 people dead. Murdered with cartel money, funneled through motorcycle clubs who thought they were just transporting cash, not funding a kill list. And Ghost had discovered it all. Mama? Marcus's voice seemed to come from very far away. You look sick. Do you have a fever too? Maya closed the files with shaking fingers. No, baby. Mama's okay. But she wasn't okay. She would never be okay again. Because now she understood what Kingpin hadn't. Ghost wasn't some rogue agent stealing for profit. He was trying to expose a conspiracy that reached into the highest levels of federal law enforcement. A conspiracy that had already killed 17 people. And now she was caught in the middle of it. The phone buzzed in her hand. Maya nearly dropped it. A notification appeared on the screen, incoming call, encrypted. She stared at it, paralyzed. Answer, or don't answer. Either choice felt like stepping off a cliff. The phone kept buzzing. Marcus watched her with curious eyes. Maya hit accept. Ms. Johnson. A woman's voice, sharp and urgent. My name is Agent Sarah Chen, FBI. I'm Daniel Cross's handler. Where are you right now? Maya's throat closed. How did you? The phone has a passive locator that pings when files are accessed. I've been waiting for Ghost to surface. Chen's words came rapid fire. Listen carefully. You're in danger. Extreme danger. I need your exact location so I can send a protection team. No. Maya's voice surprised herself with its firmness. No, I'm not telling you anything until you explain what the hell is happening. A pause. Then, what did Ghost show you? Everything. The files. The offshore accounts. Operation Shadowfall. Maya's anger rose, hot and clarifying. 17 people murdered with cartel money funneled through the FBI. Was that real? Or is this all some elaborate? It's real. Chen's voice cracked. Every word. I've been helping Ghost gather evidence for 18 months. We were so close to taking it to the Inspector General, to justice, but then. A sound in the background. Voices. Chen's breath caught. And if he didn't understand it. I need you to go there right now. Take your tablet and your headphones. Don't come out until Mama comes to get you. Can you do that? But the people at the door. Now, Marcus. She grabbed his shoulders, forcing him to meet her eyes. This is serious. Like a fire drill, remember? You go fast and you don't ask questions. Go. He ran, thank God, disappearing through the kitchen door that led to the basement. Maya heard his feet on the stairs, then the creak of the storm cellar's hidden entrance behind the old furnace. The knock came again. Harder. Ms. Johnson? FBI. We need to speak with you about last night's incident. Maya shoved the phone and the duffel bag of money into the pantry, behind her bulk flour bags. Then she grabbed a dish towel, wiped her face, and opened the door with what she prayed looked like confusion rather than terror. 2 agents. Male, late 30s, with the kind of hard, efficient faces that came from years of federal work. Their credentials looked real, but so had Ghost's biker persona. Ms. Maya Johnson, the taller one asked. Yes? I'm Agent Rawlings. This is Agent Costa. We're investigating a federal fugitive who may have been in this area last night. May we come in? Rawlings. Chen had said that name right before the gunfire. Maya's smile felt like it might crack her face apart. Of course. Though I'm not sure how I can help. We had a storm last night, and I. She saw it in Costa's eyes, the flicker to her left, to Rawlings's hand moving to his waistband. Maya slammed the door and ran. Behind her, the door exploded inward. Not kicked, shot. The lock disintegrated in a spray of splinters. Maya hit the kitchen at full speed, grabbed the hunting rifle still leaning against the wall, and fired blind toward the door. The recoil nearly broke her shoulder. The shot went wild, punching a hole in her ceiling, but it bought her 3 seconds. 3 seconds to reach the basement door, to throw herself down the stairs, to slam it behind her and shoot the deadbolt home. Footsteps thundered above. Male voices, calm and professional. Basement secured. Costa, check the perimeter. She's got a kid, find him. Maya's blood turned to ice. Marcus. She ran through the cluttered basement, past broken furniture and storage boxes, to the old furnace. Behind it, hidden by shadow and cobwebs, was the storm cellar entrance, a heavy wooden door that Daniel had built into the foundation. Marcus, she hissed. Baby, we have to go. The cellar door swung open. Marcus stood there, tablet in hand, headphones around his neck. Mama, what's happening? Who's shooting? No time. Come on. She grabbed his hand and pulled him into the cellar. It was small, maybe 6 feet by 8, with concrete walls and a ventilation shaft. Daniel had stocked it with emergency supplies after a tornado warning 5 years ago. Flashlights, water, batteries. And Maya's hand found it in the dark, the exit. Not really an exit. More like a crawlspace that led to an old root cellar that opened into the forest 50 yards from the house. Daniel had discovered it during renovations, some remnant of the farmhouse's 100-year history. He'd cleared it out, shored it up, joked about having a secret escape route. Maya had laughed at his paranoia then. She wasn't laughing now. Crawl, she told Marcus. Fast as you can. Don't stop. They crawled through darkness and spider webs and the smell of earth, Marcus whimpering but moving, always moving. Behind them, Maya heard the basement door crash open, heard boots on concrete, heard voices coordinating a search. The crawlspace seemed endless. Maya's knees screamed, her hands scraped against rock, but she kept pushing Marcus forward, kept moving toward the faint light ahead that meant freedom. They burst out of the root cellar into blinding morning sun. Maya grabbed Marcus and ran. The forest swallowed them, thick pine and bare aspen, the ground still covered in 2 feet of snow from last night's storm. Maya's boots sank with each step, her breath came in ragged gasps, but she didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Marcus was crying, confused and terrified, but he kept running. Behind them, shouts. Then gunfire, 3 shots that cracked through the winter air. Maya zigged left, pulling Marcus behind a fallen log, pressing him flat into the snow. Quiet, baby. So quiet. They waited, lungs burning, while footsteps crunched through the forest. Closer. Closer. Then a woman's voice, amused and cold, "That's enough, Miss Johnson. Your boy's tired. You're tired. And you're leaving a trail a blind man could follow." Maya risked a look over the log. A woman stood 30 feet away, relaxed and confident. Late 20s, Asian, stunningly beautiful in a way that made the gun in her hand look like a fashion accessory. She wore motorcycle leathers under a designer coat, and her smile was the kind that promised pain. "I'm Viper," she said. "Kingpin sent me to babysit. Make sure you don't do anything stupid, like run into the forest with your kid when FBI killers come knocking." Her eyes glittered. "Though I admit, that was pretty stupid. Stay back." Maya raised the rifle with shaking hands. Viper didn't even flinch. "You've got Daniel's old .30-06, right? Good gun. But you've got, what, 1 shot left? Maybe 2. She took a step forward. "And I've got 9 friends in these trees, all with better aim than you." Maya's finger tightened on the trigger. "Don't," Viper said softly. "You fire that, my boys fire back. Might hit you. Might hit your son. Bullets get stupid when there's children around." Another step. "But here's the thing, I don't want to hurt you. Kingpin wants you alive. So does Ghost, apparently, wherever that bastard is hiding. You're valuable, Maya. You and your boy. Then let us go." "Can't do that either." Viper was close now, close enough that Maya could see the tattoo on her neck, a coiled serpent with ruby eyes. See, those FBI agents back at your house? They're not here to protect you. They're here to kill you and make it look like the big bad bikers did it. Wade's cleaning house. I don't care about Wade or Ghost or any of this. Maya's voice broke. I just want my son safe. I know. Viper's smile softened, just slightly. And right now, the safest place for him is with us. Because we're the only ones who need you breathing. Marcus whimpered against Maya's side. Mama, I'm cold. Viper's eyes flicked to the boy, and something flickered across her face, not quite sympathy, but close. He does look cold. Fever's probably back too, running around in the snow. Let me take you back to the house. We'll get him warm, get you both some food. Nobody has to get hurt. You'll kill us the moment Ghost shows up, Maya said. Maybe. Viper shrugged. But we'll definitely kill you if you stay out here and freeze. The FBI will definitely kill you if they find you first. At least with us, you've got a chance. She extended her hand. What do you say, Mama? Want to take the deal where your boy doesn't die in the snow? Maya looked at Marcus, shivering, crying, his lips tinged blue again. She lowered the rifle. Viper's smile widened. Smart choice. They walked back to the house surrounded by bikers who appeared from the forest like shadows. 9 of them, just like Viper had said, all armed, all watching Maya with the kind of professional wariness that said they'd done this before. The black FBI SUV was still in the driveway. Empty now. Where are the agents? Maya asked. Kingpin's talking to them, Viper said. Professional courtesy and all that. They entered through the back door. Maya's kitchen was full of Hell's Angels, 6 more, standing around like they owned the place. In the living room, Kingpin sat in Daniel's old recliner, calm as ever, while Agents Rawlings and Costa knelt on the floor with their hands zip-tied behind their backs. Kingpin looked up when Maya entered. Ah, Ms. Johnson. I'm glad Viper found you. Running was unwise. They tried to kill me, Maya said. Yes, they did. Kingpin's voice was pleasant, conversational. Agent Rawlings here has been very forthcoming about his orders. Apparently, Assistant Director Wade wants you eliminated. Can't have loose ends wandering around with Ghost's evidence. Rawlings's face was bloody, his nose clearly broken. He glared at Maya with pure hatred. Kingpin's phone buzzed. He answered it, listened for a moment, then went very still. His eyes, when they rose to meet Maya's, held something new. Calculation. I see, he said into the phone. Yes. Confirmed. We'll handle it. He hung up. The silence in the room was suffocating. Ms. Johnson, Kingpin said slowly, I owe you an apology. I've been operating under a false assumption. Maya's arms tightened around Marcus. What are you talking about? You're not Ghost's accomplice. Kingpin stood, moving toward her with the kind of careful steps used around dangerous animals. You're his leverage. His insurance policy. That money he left you, these coordinates for a meeting, they were never meant to help you escape. They were meant to keep you exactly where he needed you. I don't understand. Where's your son? Kingpin's eyes dropped to Marcus, and his expression shifted into something that made Maya's blood freeze. Actually, that's a rhetorical question. He's right here. Has been the whole time. Because Ghost knew you'd never leave him. Knew you'd do anything to protect him. Get away from him. Maya pulled Marcus behind her. Kingpin didn't move closer. He just smiled, sad and knowing. Ghost didn't hide money in your house by accident, Ms. Johnson. He didn't choose your property at random. And he certainly didn't treat your son's fever out of the goodness of his heart. What are you saying? I'm saying Agent Cross is a very thorough man. When he treats someone, he doesn't just give them medicine. Kingpin nodded to one of his men, who produced a small electronic device, handheld, covered in blinking lights. Check the boy. No. Maya backed toward the door, but Viper blocked her path. The biker with the device approached Marcus, moving the scanner over his small body. It beeped steadily, then shrieked when it passed over Marcus's upper arm, the same arm Ghost had checked for lymph nodes, had held so carefully while bringing down his fever. The biker looked up, his face grim. Subcutaneous tracker. Medical grade. Probably injected under the guise of checking his temperature or pulse. The world tilted. Maya looked down at Marcus, at her sweet, innocent son who was staring up at her with confused, fever-bright eyes. What does that mean, Mama? What's a tracker? It means, Kingpin said quietly, that Ghost has been watching you this entire time. Listening, probably, through audio feed. He knows exactly where you are, exactly what you're saying. And more importantly, he knows we can't kill you without revealing our hand. Maya felt something inside her crack. He used my son. He turned my child into a human GPS device, Kingpin finished. Yes. Very effective, very cruel, and absolutely brilliant. Because now Ghost knows everything, knows the FBI tried to kill you, knows I have you in custody, knows about these corrupt agents. And he'll use that information to destroy everyone who threatens his operation. Kingpin looked at Maya with something almost like respect. You're not a victim, Miss Johnson. You're a weapon. Ghost pointed you at all of us and pulled the trigger the moment he walked into your house. Marcus started crying, great heaving sobs. Mama, I don't understand. What's happening? Maya pulled him close, her own tears falling into his hair. She'd thought she was saving people from a storm. She'd thought she was showing mercy, practicing the faith her grandmother had taught her. But she'd been played from the very beginning. Used. Turned into a pawn in a game whose rules she still didn't understand. Ghost had injected a tracking device into her son. And somewhere out there, he was listening to everything. Watching. Waiting. Planning his next move. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 4. The tracking device was smaller than a grain of rice. Maya stared at it through the clear evidence bag Kingpin's tech specialist had produced, her mind unable to fully process what she was seeing. That tiny piece of metal and circuitry had been inside her son's arm for the past 9 hours, transmitting his location, maybe even his vital signs, to a man who'd used them like chess pieces in a game Maya still didn't understand. Marcus sat beside her on the couch, silent now, his arm bandaged where they'd extracted the tracker. The local doctor Kingpin had summoned, a nervous man who'd clearly done favors for the club before, had removed it with surgical precision, then left without meeting Maya's eyes. The house was full of bikers. 20 at least, stationed at every window and door, transforming her home into a fortress. Or a prison. Maya wasn't sure which. Agent Rawlings and Costa were gone, hauled away in the trunk of their own SUV by men who hadn't bothered hiding what would happen to corrupt federal agents in Hell's Angels' custody. Maya had watched them go and felt nothing. No sympathy. No horror. Just a vast, empty numbness. Kingpin sat across from her, still wearing that expensive coat, still looking like a professor instead of a criminal. He'd been quiet since the tracker revelation, letting Maya absorb the reality of her situation. Finally, he spoke. The money Ghost stole wasn't random, Ms. Johnson. It had a specific purpose. Kingpin leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. $8 million, payment from the Sinaloa cartel to Assistant Director Wade's operation. Payment for a contract. A contract, Maya repeated numbly. An assassination. Federal Judge Catherine Reeves, Northern District of Montana. She's been hearing a massive RICO case against the cartel. Testimony starts next week. If she lives to preside, 18 cartel leaders go to prison for life. If she dies, the case collapses. Mistrial. Everyone walks. Maya's stomach turned over. Ghost stole the money to stop the hit. Yes. Noble, in its way. Suicidally stupid, but noble. Kingpin's expression was unreadable. The problem is, the cartel doesn't care about Ghost's intentions. They paid $8 million. They expect either a dead judge or a refund. When neither materialized, they started asking questions. And you were supposed to deliver that money, Maya said slowly, pieces clicking together. The Hells Angels were the transport. We're couriers, not killers. Wade used us for logistics. We move cash, we don't ask questions, everyone profits. It's been a lucrative arrangement for 3 years. Kingpin's voice hardened. But Ghost's theft made us look either incompetent or treacherous. The cartel doesn't tolerate either. So they're coming for you. They're coming for everyone. Kingpin stood, walking to the window. Wade, to punish him for losing their money. Me, to punish me for losing their transport. Ghost, for stealing in the first place. And you, Ms. Johnson, because you're the only loose end that ties this entire disaster together. Maya pulled Marcus closer. He was shaking, whether from fever or fear she couldn't tell. We don't have the money. Ghost took it when he left. Actually, you have 500,000 of it hidden in your pantry. Kingpin didn't turn from the window. My men found it while you were running through the forest. The rest, 7.5 million, is presumably wherever Ghost is hiding. Then go find him. Leave us alone. I can't. Kingpin turned, and for the first time, Maya saw genuine regret in his eyes. Because the cartel doesn't work that way. They want blood, Ms. Johnson. Preferably Ghost's blood, but they'll settle for anyone connected to this mess. Including an 8-year-old boy whose only crime was getting sick during a blizzard. The words hung in the air like poison. Marcus whimpered. Mama, I don't feel good. Maya checked his forehead. Hot again. The fever was coming back, stress and exhaustion overwhelming the medication. He needs rest. He needs his mother to make a very difficult choice. Kingpin's voice was quiet, almost gentle. I can offer you protection, Ms. Johnson. Real protection, not the FBI's lies or Ghost's manipulations. But I need something in return. What? The word came out flat, defeated. Help me find Ghost. Help me recover the money. Help me give the cartel what they're owed so they leave my people alone. Kingpin moved closer, careful not to crowd her. Do that, and I'll ensure you and Marcus disappear. New identities, new life, somewhere the cartel will never look. You'll be ghosts yourselves, the good kind. Maya laughed, sharp and broken. And if I refuse? Then the cartel sicarios arrive, they're already en route from Mexico, should be here by nightfall, and they'll do what sicarios do best. Kingpin's voice dropped. They'll hurt your son in front of you. Slowly. Carefully. Until Ghost crawls out of whatever hole he's hiding in to make it stop. And when he does, they'll kill all of you anyway, just to send a message. The room spun. Maya couldn't breathe, couldn't think past the image of Marcus screaming while men with dead eyes. There's a third option, Viper said from the doorway. Maya hadn't heard her enter. You could try trusting the FBI. Call for help, hope they send good guys instead of Wade's people. Coin flip whether you get rescued or murdered. Agent Chen is dead, Maya said. Ghost's handler. I heard them kill her on the phone. Kingpin nodded slowly. Then the FBI is compromised beyond recovery. Wade has had years to plant his people, build his network. You call for help, you're rolling dice with your son's life. Marcus was crying again, quiet tears that broke Maya's heart worse than screams. Mama, I want to go home. Baby, we are home, Maya whispered. But they weren't. Home was a memory now, a place that existed before bikers and federal agents and tracking devices turned her sanctuary into a war zone. Home was Daniel reading Marcus bedtime stories, was Sunday dinners and Christmas lights, was the ordinary miracle of safety she'd taken for granted every single day until last night. That home was gone. Burned away like morning frost under a sun that promised no warmth. Maya looked at Kingpin, at this calm, intelligent man who'd threatened to burn her house down 12 hours ago. If I help you, if I do exactly what you want, you swear you'll let us go? You swear you won't hurt Marcus? I swear it on my mother's grave. Kingpin's voice was iron. I'm a criminal, Ms. Johnson, but I'm not a monster. I don't hurt children. I don't break my word. You help me end this, I'll give you the new life Ghost promised and failed to deliver. Work with criminals, or die with her principles. Trust a biker, or trust a broken system that had already tried to kill her twice. Maya closed her eyes and saw Daniel, saw him the way he'd looked the night before the accident, holding Marcus while they watched fireflies in the summer dusk. Sometimes the right choice is just the one that keeps our boy breathing, he'd said once, talking about whether to take a dangerous job with better pay. Everything else is philosophy. Survival is math. She opened her eyes. What do you need me to do? The tracker's signal led them northwest, exactly where Ghost's GPS coordinates had promised. The abandoned ranger station in Lewis and Clark National Forest. 53 miles from Maya's house, accessible only by logging roads that would be treacherous in the snow. Kingpin had laid out the plan with military precision. 100 bikers, armed and coordinated, would hit Ghost's location at 2 p.m., 2 hours from now. Fast, brutal, overwhelming force. Ghost wouldn't have time to run or destroy evidence. They'd recover the money, secure the files, and deliver everything to the cartel before sundown. Clean. Simple. Maya didn't believe it for a second. You're keeping us here, she said, watching through the window as bikers loaded weapons into saddlebags and checked ammunition. As insurance. As protection, Kingpin corrected. Viper and 20 men will stay with you. If Ghost has backup plans, if Wade sends more agents, you'll be safe. Safe. The word tasted like ash. Kingpin zipped his jacket, preparing to leave. 2 hours, Miss Johnson. By mid-afternoon, this will be over. You'll have your freedom, and I'll have my peace. Everyone wins except the people who deserve to lose. He left, and the sound of 100 motorcycles roaring to life shook the house to its foundation. Maya watched them go, a river of chrome and leather disappearing down her driveway, heading toward whatever trap Ghost had prepared. Because it was a trap. It had to be. Ghost had left that tracker in Marcus deliberately. Had left the GPS coordinates. Had orchestrated every move to draw everyone exactly where he wanted them. Maya looked at Viper, who'd settled into Daniel's recliner with the casual confidence of a predator in her element. Can I use the bathroom? With Marcus? Viper's eyes narrowed. Leave the door open. He's 8. He deserves privacy. He's leverage. He gets what I decide he gets. But Viper waved her hand dismissively. 5 minutes. Door cracked. My girl Sasha stands outside. Try anything stupid, and Marcus learns what real fear looks like. Maya took her son's hand and led him upstairs. Sasha, a massive woman with gang tattoos covering both arms, followed 3 steps behind. In the bathroom, Maya ran the water and knelt beside Marcus. Baby, listen very carefully. Mama needs to make a phone call, but we have to be very, very quiet. Can you do that? Marcus nodded, eyes huge. Maya pulled Agent Chen's phone from her pocket. She'd hidden it in her bra during the forest chase, the only place Viper's people hadn't searched. Her hands shook as she opened the encrypted app. Chen was dead. But maybe someone else at the FBI was still alive. Still clean. Still willing to help. She typed a message into Shadowlink, addressing it to anyone monitoring Ghost's channel. This is Maya Johnson. Hell's Angels raiding Ghost's location at Lewis and Clark Ranger Station, 2 p.m. He's walking into a trap. Need immediate backup. Women and children in danger at 4782 Whitetail Road. Please help. She hit send before she could second-guess herself. The message disappeared into the encrypted void. Maya stared at the screen, waiting for, what? A response? Salvation? Some sign that she'd done the right thing instead of making everything infinitely worse? Nothing happened. Mama? Marcus touched her face. Are the bad people going to hurt us? Maya pulled him close, breathing in the little boy's smell of him, sweat and cereal and the strawberry shampoo he liked. No, baby. Mama won't let anyone hurt you. I promise. It was a lie. She was powerless, trapped in her own home, surrounded by criminals who'd kill her son if it served their purposes. But mothers told these lies. Made these impossible promises. Because sometimes hope was all you had left to give. A response appeared on the phone. Message received. En route. ETA 45 minutes. Keep them contained. SRT 7. Maya's heart surged. SRT 7. Special Response Team. The FBI was coming. She deleted the message thread and flushed the phone down the toilet. It was small enough, just barely, and she couldn't risk Viper finding it. Then she washed her hands, schooled her face into exhausted resignation, and led Marcus back downstairs. Viper looked up from her phone. Feel better? Marcus needed to pee. I needed to breathe. Maya sat on the couch, pulling her son into her lap. How long until Kingpin gets back? Couple hours, if everything goes smooth. Viper's smile was sharp. Don't worry. We'll keep you entertained. 45 minutes. Maya had to keep these 20 bikers here for 45 minutes while the FBI closed in. Had to pray that SRT 7 was legitimate, that Wade hadn't intercepted the message, that Ghost's trap didn't kill everyone before the cavalry arrived. Had to pray her choice hadn't just murdered 100 men. The minutes crawled by. Marcus dozed against her chest, fever warm and heavy. Viper's people moved through the house with casual ownership, eating Maya's food, watching her TV, treating her home like a clubhouse. Outside, the sun climbed higher, burning off the last of the snow. Maya watched the clock, 1:47 p.m. Kingpin would be reaching Ghost's location soon. 100 bikers against whatever defenses a rogue federal agent had prepared. Metal and bullets and men who thought they were invincible because they'd survived this long. Maya prayed. Really prayed, for the first time since Daniel died. Not for herself. Not even for Marcus. But for the men riding toward their deaths because she'd been too frightened, too broken, to find another way. Please, God. Please let the FBI get there first. Please don't let my cowardice kill them all. At 2:03 p.m., the first explosion rattled the windows. Viper's head snapped up. What the hell? The sound came from the northwest, a deep, rolling boom that echoed across the frozen landscape. Then another. And another. Not thunder. Not natural. Explosives. Viper was already on her phone. Kingpin? Kingpin, report. Static. Then screaming. Men's voices, high with pain and panic, and underneath it all, the crackle of flames. Kingpin. Viper was standing now, her casual confidence cracking. What's happening? More explosions. Closer. Louder. Then Kingpin's voice, barely audible through smoke and chaos. It was a trap. Whole building was rigged. 30 men down, maybe more. Pulling back. The line went dead. Viper's eyes found Maya's, and what burned there was beyond anger. It was murder, cold and certain. You called them. Not a question. A sentence. You called the feds. You warned Ghost. No, Maya breathed. I didn't, I wouldn't. Search her. Search the house. Find the phone. Viper's voice was a whip crack. And bring me the boy. Two bikers grabbed Marcus, yanking him from Maya's arms. He screamed, high and terrified, reaching for his mother. No. Please. I didn't do anything. Maya lunged for her son, but Sasha's fist caught her in the stomach, doubling her over. Basement, Viper snapped. Both of them. We're going to have a very educational conversation about loyalty and consequences. They dragged Maya down the stairs, the same stairs she'd fled down hours ago, the same basement where she'd thought she could hide from the nightmare. Marcus was screaming, crying, calling for her. The basement was cold and dark and smelled like mildew. They threw Maya against the concrete wall hard enough to knock the air from her lungs. Marcus was shoved into a corner, Sasha standing over him with a knife that caught the bare bulb's light. Viper descended the stairs slowly, each footstep deliberate. Last chance, Maya. Where's the phone? Who did you call? I flushed it. I called an FBI response team. I thought, Maya's voice broke. I thought they could stop this. Stop all of you. I didn't know Ghost would. 30 men. Viper's voice was soft, deadly. 30 brothers, dead because you couldn't follow simple instructions. Because you thought you were smarter than everyone else. I'm sorry. You will be. Viper raised her hand, and Maya closed her eyes, waiting for the blow. It never came. Instead, she heard something that made no sense, Kingpin's voice. Viper. Stand down. Maya's eyes flew open. Kingpin stood at the bottom of the stairs, and he was wrong, everything about him was wrong. His expensive coat was gone, replaced by a leather jacket shredded and scorched. Blood covered his face, his hands soaked his clothes. Ash and soot turned his silver hair gray-black. But it was his eyes that stopped Maya's heart. Dead. Completely dead, like something inside him had burned away with his men. He walked toward her with terrible, measured calm. You called the feds. I. His hand closed around Maya's throat, lifting her off the ground with strength that seemed impossible. Ghost knew we were coming. Had the whole building rigged with military-grade explosives. C4, trip wires, remote detonators. The second my advance team breached the door, it went up. 30 men, Maya. 30 brothers I've ridden with for years. Gone in fire and shrapnel because you made a phone call. Maya couldn't breathe, couldn't speak. Black spots danced across her vision. Kingpin, Viper's voice held something Maya had never heard from her, fear. Kingpin, you're killing her. Good. But he released her, letting Maya crumple to the concrete, gasping. Tell me why I shouldn't kill your son in front of you. Right now. Tell me why his blood shouldn't answer for my brother's blood. Because it wasn't her fault. The new voice came from the shadows behind the furnace, from the storm cellar entrance Maya thought she'd closed behind them hours ago. Ghost stepped into the light, hands raised, unarmed. His face was haggard, hollow-eyed, but his voice was steady. It was mine. All of it. I set the trap. I knew you'd come. I used Maya and Marcus like ammunition, and they never had a choice. He moved forward slowly, careful not to spook the bikers who'd drawn weapons. Let them go, Kingpin. Please. I'll give you everything, the money, the evidence, my life. Just let them go. Marcus sobbed. Mama. Maya tried to crawl toward her son, but Viper's boot pressed into her back, pinning her. Kingpin stared at Ghost with those dead eyes. You'll give me your life? How generous, when I'm about to take it anyway. I know. Ghost's voice was heavy with exhaustion and something else, acceptance. I know you'll kill me. I've known since this started. But Maya and Marcus are innocent. They deserve to walk away. They deserve nothing. Kingpin's voice was flat. They're collateral damage in a war they never understood. Just like my 30 brothers. Just like. A phone rang. Not Maya's phone, she destroyed it. Kingpin's phone, still clipped to his belt despite everything. He answered it, his eyes never leaving Ghost. What? Maya couldn't hear the other end of the conversation, but she watched Kingpin's face change. The dead expression flickered, cracked, and underneath it, something worse appeared. Fear. How long? Kingpin asked. A pause. All of them? Jesus Christ. ETA? He hung up. Looked at Ghost. Looked at Maya and Marcus. When he spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. Too late. What's too late? Viper asked. Kingpin's laugh was broken glass. The cartel. They're not coming tonight. They're already here. 20 sicarios, heavily armed, 15 minutes out. My spotter caught them on the access road. He looked at Ghost. They're not here to negotiate. They're here to kill everyone and burn this place to the ground. The basement fell silent except for Marcus's quiet crying. Ghost's face went white. No. They weren't supposed to arrive until you could finish your game? Until you could expose Wade and walk away clean? Kingpin's voice rose. You miscalculated, Agent Cross. You thought you could control all the pieces, but you forgot the cartel doesn't follow anyone's timeline but their own. He grabbed Maya by the hair, yanking her to her feet. So here's what's going to happen. You wanted to save these two? Prove it. We've got 15 minutes to figure out how to survive 20 cartel killers, or everyone in this house dies. Starting with the boy. Kingpin dragged Maya toward the stairs, Viper hauling Marcus behind them. Ghost followed, hands still raised, his face a mask of horror and guilt. As they climbed into the light, Maya heard it, engines in the distance, growing louder. Not motorcycles. SUVs. Heavy, fast, coming hard. The cartel had arrived. And everyone Maya loved was about to die in the crossfire of a war they'd never asked to join. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 5. Maya had 15 minutes to live. She knew this with the kind of crystalline certainty that comes when the world strips away all pretense and shows you exactly what you're worth to the people holding the guns. 15 minutes, maybe less, before men who killed for profit arrived at her door. Kingpin's remaining bikers moved with desperate efficiency, fortifying positions throughout the house. Furniture dragged against windows. Weapons checked and loaded. Viper barking orders with the calm of someone who'd prepared for this kind of hell before. 20 bikers left. Against 20 cartel sicarios who'd crossed international borders specifically to murder everyone breathing Montana air in this farmhouse. The math wasn't promising. Basement, Kingpin told Maya, shoving her toward the stairs. You and the boy. Out of the line of fire. You just dragged us up from the basement, Maya said, hysteria creeping into her voice. Make up your mind, are we bait or are we prisoners? Right now, you're a liability I don't have time to manage. Kingpin's face was still covered in blood and ash, his eyes still holding that terrible emptiness. Get downstairs. Stay quiet. Maybe you'll survive long enough to regret calling the feds. Ghost grabbed Kingpin's arm. She stays up here. With me. You lock her in that basement, she's trapped if they breach. If they breach, everyone's dead anyway. Kingpin shook him off. Don't pretend you care about her now, Cross. You used her kid as a tracking device. You rigged your hideout to explode with my men inside. You don't get to play hero. I'm not playing. Ghost's voice was raw. I'm trying to keep them alive, which is more than you're doing while you plan your last stand. My last stand? Kingpin's laugh was venom. You're the one they're coming for. You stole their money. You killed their timeline. This is your apocalypse, Agent Cross. We're just dying in it. The argument was cut short by the sound that would haunt Maya's nightmares forever, assuming she lived long enough to have nightmares. Engines. Lots of them. Deep, powerful, the mechanical growl of vehicles that cost more than her house. Through the window, Maya saw them coming. Not 50 SUVs. That had been Kingpin's estimate, his worst-case scenario. The reality was worse. 37 black Chevy Suburbans rolled over her property line in perfect formation, for abreast, churning through snow and frozen earth like tanks. Their windows were tinted black, impenetrable. Their bumpers reinforced with steel. These weren't civilian vehicles. They were military-grade, the kind of hardware that said we are the law because we have more guns than God. They spread across Maya's property in a semicircle, blocking every exit, every escape route. Engines cut off in synchronized silence, leaving only the wind and the hammering of Maya's heart. Doors opened. Men emerged, 60, 70, maybe more. All wearing black tactical gear, all carrying assault rifles that made the bikers' weapons look like children's toys. Their faces were hidden behind balaclavas and dark glasses. Anonymous. Professional. Interchangeable angels of death. Jesus Christ, Viper breathed. That's not 20 sicarios. That's an army. They brought everyone, Ghost said, his voice hollow. Wade must have told them about the evidence. They're not just here to recover money, they're here to erase the entire operation. One man walked forward from the center vehicle, and Maya knew immediately he was different. He didn't wear tactical gear. He wore an expensive suit, charcoal gray, perfectly tailored, with a black tie and polished shoes that seemed obscene against the bloody snow. He was tall, lean, maybe 40, with the kind of face that belonged in boardrooms or on political campaigns. Handsome, distinguished, completely ordinary except for his eyes. His eyes were empty. Not dead like Kingpin's, dead implied something had been killed. This man's eyes suggested nothing had ever lived there in the first place. He walked to Maya's porch and knocked on the door. Polite. Civilized. Like he was selling insurance. Ms. Johnson? His voice carried clearly despite the closed door, accented but perfect. My name is Armando Vega. People call me El Fantasma, the ghost. I apologize for the dramatic entrance, but we have urgent business to discuss. May I come in? No one moved. No one breathed. El Fantasma waited exactly 10 seconds, then nodded to one of his men. The Sicario raised his rifle and shot out Maya's front window in a single burst that turned glass into glittering rain. Or I can come in uninvited, El Fantasma continued, his tone unchanged. Your choice, but I'm on a schedule. Kingpin looked at Ghost, at Maya, at his own people. The calculation in his eyes was visible, ugly. Then he opened the door. El Fantasma stepped inside, brushing snow from his shoulders with fastidious care. His eyes swept the room, 20 terrified bikers, one federal agent, one single mother clutching her child, and his smile was warm, genuine, the kind that made you want to trust him despite every instinct screaming otherwise. Thank you. Civility costs nothing, yes? He looked at Kingpin. You must be Marcus Webb. I've heard excellent things about your organization. My employers have valued your services for several years. Until your money disappeared, Kingpin said flatly. Yes, that was unfortunate. El Fantasma's smile never wavered. But mistakes happen. What matters is correction. His eyes found Ghost. Agent Daniel Cross. You've caused considerable trouble. 7 months of planning, $8 million, one very important federal judge who was supposed to die tomorrow morning. All ruined because you decided to play hero. Ghost said nothing, but Maya saw his hand drift toward his waistband. Don't, El Fantasma said softly. My men have orders to kill everyone in this house if you draw that weapon. Starting with the child. Ghost's hand froze. El Fantasma walked deeper into the house, examining family photos on Maya's walls like he was touring a museum. Ms. Johnson. Your home is lovely. Your late husband was a handsome man. Such a tragedy, his death. These accidents that take good people too soon. He picked up a frame, Daniel and Marcus at the county fair, both laughing. You must miss him terribly. Maya couldn't speak. Her voice had abandoned her somewhere between the SUVs arriving and this nightmare in an expensive suit touching her memories with blood-stained hands. I have a proposition, El Fantasma said, setting the photo down with care. As you've probably deduced, I'm here to recover my employer's property and eliminate loose ends. Agent Cross stole $8 million. But more importantly, he stole evidence, financial records, communications, proof of relationships that must remain confidential. I don't have your evidence, Kingpin said. Cross does. We were trying to recover it when he blew 30 of your men into pieces. Yes, I heard. My condolences. El Fantasma's sympathy sounded genuine, which somehow made it worse. But here's my problem, I have 3 groups of people who've seen or heard too much. Hell's Angels who transported our money. An FBI agent who stole it. And a civilian woman who sheltered everyone and presumably knows far too much now. He turned in a slow circle, making eye contact with every person in the room. My orders are simple, kill everyone. Burn this property to the ground. Leave no evidence, no witnesses, no complications. Salt the earth, as they say. His smile widened. But I'm a practical man. Killing wastes resources. So I'm offering an alternative. What alternative? Ghost's voice was tight. One person walks away. Just one. El Fantasma pulled out a silver pistol, expensive, engraved, the kind of weapon that cost more than Maya's truck. He set it on her coffee table. Whoever kills the others gets immunity. Kill Agent Cross, kill Mr. Webb, kill anyone else who poses a threat to my employer's interests. Do that, and you leave here alive with our gratitude and a considerable financial reward. The silence was suffocating. You're insane, Viper said. You think we'll just... El Fantasma shot her. The sound was deafening in the small space. Viper stumbled backward, hand flying to her shoulder where blood bloomed across her leather jacket. She didn't fall, the woman was too tough for that, but her face went white with shock and pain. I'm not insane. I'm efficient. El Fantasma's voice remained pleasant. You have 2 minutes to decide who lives and who dies. If no one chooses, everyone dies. Starting with the boy. He walked back toward the door, pausing at the threshold. Oh, and Agent Cross? I know you're recording this. I know you've been recording everything since you planted that tracker in the child. Very clever. But it won't matter. My employers own the people who would review that evidence. Assistant Director Wade sends his regards, by the way. He's quite disappointed you didn't die in your little explosion. The door closed behind him. For 3 heartbeats, no one moved. Then chaos erupted. Kingpin lunged for the pistol on the table. Ghost tackled him, both men crashing into Maya's furniture. Bikers drew weapons on each other, some loyal to Kingpin, some seeing El Fantasma's offer as their only survival. Wait! Maya screamed. Wait, we can't. Gunfire exploded from outside. Not from inside the house, from the cartel's perimeter. Warning shots that shredded what remained of Maya's windows and sent everyone diving for cover. El Fantasma's voice carried through the broken glass, amplified by speakers in the SUVs, 1 minute 40 seconds. Mama! Marcus's scream cut through everything. He was on the floor where she dropped him, hands over his ears, sobbing. Maya crawled to him through broken glass and splintered wood. Her hands were bleeding, when had that happened, but she pulled Marcus into her arms, trying to shield him with her body. Another burst of gunfire. Closer. 1 minute 20 seconds. We have to kill Cross, someone shouted. One of Kingpin's men, wild-eyed with panic. It's him or all of us. He's FBI, another biker yelled back. Kill a Fed, and we'll have the entire government hunting us. Better than cartel sicarios. Shut up. Kingpin roared, and the room fell silent. He stood in the center of the chaos, covered in blood and ash and the weight of 30 dead brothers. When he spoke, his voice was steady. No one's killing anyone. We fight. Together. We die on our feet or we don't die at all. You'll die either way, Ghost said quietly. He'd retrieved the pistol from the floor during the chaos. Now he held it loosely, not pointed at anyone. But Maya and Marcus don't have to. Let me take them out. The storm cellar, through the tunnel to the forest. They can run while we keep El Fantasma's attention. They'll catch them in minutes, Kingpin said. Maybe. Or maybe they'll survive. Better odds than staying here. 1 minute. The automated countdown felt like a ticking bomb. Maya looked around her house, her home, where Daniel had carried her over the threshold, where Marcus had taken his first steps, where every memory she treasured lived in the walls, and saw only a tomb. The cellar, she said. Her voice surprised her, coming out strong despite everything. Ghost is right. We can't fight an army, but maybe we can hide until. The front wall exploded. Not metaphorically. Literally exploded, blown inward by something that turned wood and drywall into shrapnel and fire. The blast threw Maya backward, still clutching Marcus. Her ears rang, her vision blurred, but she kept moving, kept crawling toward the basement stairs. Gunfire erupted, sustained, deafening, the sound of 30 assault rifles firing in controlled bursts. Bikers screamed. Someone fell across Maya's legs, heavy and not moving. She didn't look, couldn't afford to look, just dragged Marcus through smoke and chaos. Ghost appeared beside her, half his face covered in blood. Go. Now. I'll cover. A bullet took him in the shoulder, spinning him around. He didn't fall, but his pistol clattered away. Maya grabbed his good arm and hauled him toward the stairs. Behind them, Kingpin was roaring orders, organizing a defense that might buy them seconds. Viper, wounded shoulder and all, was firing through a broken window. Bikers were dying, their blood painting Maya's floors, their screams mixing with the thunder of weapons. The basement stairs. Maya threw herself down them, Marcus tumbling after, Ghost stumbling behind. She reached the bottom, oriented herself in the darkness, and ran for the storm cellar entrance. The hidden door swung open, and Ghost was already there. Not the ghost who'd just been shot. Another ghost, earlier ghost, crouching in the darkness with 4 black duffel bags stacked beside him. Maya's mind stuttered. How was he, when had he? Then she understood. He'd been here all along. Had never left. The ghost upstairs was, someone else? A decoy? Nothing made sense anymore. Inside, Ghost said, and his voice was wrong, different, tired in a way she'd never heard. Quickly. They'll be down here in seconds. Maya shoved Marcus into the storm cellar. Followed him. Turned back for the wounded ghost from upstairs. But he was gone. Just blood on the stairs and the sound of battle above and no body, no proof he'd been real at all. The door slammed shut. Darkness swallowed them. Above, the battle intensified. Explosions. Screams. The distinct sound of motorcycle engines roaring to life, Kingpin's people trying to break through the cordon, maybe, or just trying to die with wheels under them. In the darkness, Ghost's flashlight clicked on. He looked terrible, hollow-eyed, unshaven, running on fumes and willpower. The duffel bags were open, revealing stacks of cash that meant nothing anymore. I'm sorry, he said. I'm so sorry, Maya. You were never supposed to be part of this. Shut up. Maya's voice was ice. Just shut up and tell me how we get out of this alive. Ghost looked at Marcus, trembling, silent, in shock, and something broke behind his eyes. The tunnel leads to the forest. Old mining shaft, comes out near a service road. I have a vehicle stashed 2 miles north. We can what? Run? Hide? They have 70 Sicarios up there and military-grade weapons and... I have evidence. Ghost's voice was fierce, desperate. The money was never the target, Maya. It was bait. Everything was bait. The tracker and Marcus, the GPS coordinates, bringing everyone here, it was all to get them talking. To get them confessing on record. He pulled out a small device from his jacket. Black, sophisticated, blinking with tiny red lights. That tracker wasn't just location services. It was audio and video. Streaming to a secure server, backed up in real time. Every word Kingpin said. Every threat El Fantasma made. Every confession from Wade's corrupt agents. All of it recorded, all of it admissible, all of it uploading to my handler, my real handler, not Chen, right now. Maya stared at him. At the device. At her son, who'd been carrying federal surveillance equipment in his body for nearly 24 hours. You used him, she whispered. You used my son as a recording device. As bait to draw in criminals so you could tape them confessing. Yes. Ghost didn't look away. I used both of you. From the moment I walked into your house, you were part of an operation. The shelter, the fever treatment, the money I left, all calculated moves to keep you invested, keep you involved, keep you exactly where I needed you. Above them, something exploded. The storm cellar shook. Dust rained from the ceiling. Your act of kindness, Ghost continued, his voice cracking. Your compassion for dying strangers in a blizzard, I weaponized it. Turned it into a federal sting operation. And I'd do it again, Maya, because it's the only way to stop Wade. The only way to expose the corruption before more people die. Marcus whimpered. Mama, I don't understand. The nice man isn't nice? Maya looked at her son. At Ghost. At the millions of dollars in cash that had bought her nothing but pain. You're a monster, she said. I know. Ghost's voice was barely a whisper. But I'm the monster trying to stop bigger monsters. That has to count for something. It didn't. It counted for nothing. But Maya was too tired, too terrified, too broken to argue. Above them, the gunfire was slowing. Either Kingpin's people were winning, unlikely, or dying, inevitable. Soon, El Fantasma would come looking for the woman and child who disappeared during the chaos. And Ghost would have his evidence, his confession, his moral victory. While everyone else just had corpses. The tunnel, Maya said numbly. Show me the tunnel. Ghost nodded and lifted one of the duffel bags. Take the money. You'll need it for running. I don't want blood money. It's not blood money anymore. It's survival money. Take it. Maya grabbed one bag. Ghost took the other 3. Together, they moved deeper into the storm cellar, toward the crawlspace that led to the mining tunnel, toward whatever slim hope of escape existed in this nightmare. Behind them, the battle above ground reached its crescendo. And somewhere in the FBI's secure servers, a recording played on a loop, cartel enforcers making death threats to civilians, corrupt federal agents revealed, conspiracy documented in real time. Evidence that would destroy empires. If anyone lived long enough to use it. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 6. The tunnel smelled like death and earth and a century of darkness. Maya crawled through it on hands and knees, Marcus pressed against her side, Ghost's flashlight bobbing ahead of them like a will-o'-the-wisp leading them deeper into hell. The walls were timber and stone, shored up with rotting beams that creaked ominously with every movement. Water dripped somewhere in the darkness, a rhythmic plip-plip-plip that counted down seconds Maya couldn't afford to lose. Behind them, muffled by tons of rock and soil, the battle raged on. Gunfire. Explosions. Screams that might have been human or might have been her imagination painting horror onto silence. How much farther? Maya's voice echoed strangely in the confined space. Half a mile. Maybe less. Ghost was ahead, dragging 3 duffel bags through the narrow passage with grim determination. The shaft connects to an old mining network. Abandoned in the 50s. No one knows it's here except me and the survey maps I accessed 6 months ago. 6 months ago. The words detonated in Maya's brain like small charges. You've been planning this for 6 months? Ghost didn't answer, just kept crawling. Answer me. Maya's scream was raw, desperate. You said my house wasn't random. You said, 6 months, Ghost. You've been planning to use my home, my son, my life for 6 months? 8, actually. His voice was flat, exhausted. 8 months since I identified your property as tactically optimal. Remote location, minimal law enforcement presence, owner with clean record and no gang affiliations. Storm cellar with historical tunnel access. I found the original mining company blueprints in county records. It was perfect. Maya stopped crawling. Her hands were bleeding from scraping against rock, her knees screamed with pain, but none of it compared to the fury building in her chest like pressure in a volcano. Perfect, she repeated. My home was perfect for your trap. Yes. My son was perfect bait. Yes. Everything, the shelter, the kindness, the money, all of it was manipulation. Ghost stopped moving. Turned to face her in the narrow tunnel, his flashlight throwing grotesque shadows across his haggard face. Yes. All of it. I'm a federal agent running an illegal operation against corrupt elements in my own agency. I needed leverage, needed witnesses, needed a location where I could control the variables and force everyone into a confined space where they'd incriminate themselves. His voice was hollow. You were the perfect pawn, Maya. And I moved you across the board without asking permission. Something inside Maya snapped. She lunged at him, fists swinging, nails clawing, all the terror and rage and helplessness of the past 24 hours erupting in a violence she'd never known she possessed. Her fist connected with Ghost's jaw. Her nails raked his face, drawing blood. She screamed words that might have been curses or prayers or just animal sounds of a mother betrayed. Ghost didn't fight back. He could have. He was trained, combat-ready despite his wounds. But he just covered his face with his arms and let her hit him, absorbed her fury like penance, like this was what he'd been waiting for all along. Mama, stop. Marcus was crying, pulling at her jacket. Mama, please. Maya collapsed, sobbing, her fists bloody and her soul shredded. Ghost sat up slowly, wiping blood from his split lip. You're right, he said quietly. I'm a monster who used an innocent woman and her child. I destroyed your life to save my operation. I turned your home into a battlefield and your son into surveillance equipment. I'm everything you think I am and worse. Then why should I trust you? Maya's voice broke. Why should I follow you anywhere? Because right now, I'm the only monster who can save you. Ghost's eyes held hers, and for the first time, she saw something genuine there, not manipulation, not calculation, but raw, desperate truth. Wade wants you dead. The cartel wants you dead. Even Kingpin would kill you if it served his purposes. But I need you alive, Maya. Not just for evidence, not just for testimony. Because somewhere in the last 24 hours, keeping you and Marcus breathing stopped being tactical and became personal. I don't believe you. I don't blame you. Ghost picked up the duffel bags. But we're burning time, and your son needs to get out of this tunnel before the oxygen gets thin. So hate me while we move. Rage at me while we survive. But move. Maya looked at Marcus, filthy, terrified, trusting her to make the right choice even when no right choice existed. She crawled forward. The tunnel seemed endless, a throat swallowing them into darkness that went on forever. But finally, Ghost's flashlight found something different, wooden stairs, ancient and half-rotted, leading upward. This is it. Old mining office, abandoned since 1957. Comes up in what's now the ranger station parking lot, 3 miles from your house. Ghost tested the first stair. It held. Barely. Careful. These might not support weight. They climbed in agonizing slowness, each step a gamble between escape and a broken neck in the darkness. Maya held Marcus close, whispering reassurances she didn't believe, making promises she couldn't keep. Ghost reached the top first. Maya heard him grunt with effort, then daylight, blessed, painful daylight, flooded down through a trapdoor he'd pushed open. They emerged into an abandoned building that smelled like mold and rodent droppings. Broken windows. Graffiti on the walls. Nature reclaiming what humans had left behind. And outside, the sound of vehicles. Lots of them. Ghost moved to a window, peered out carefully. FBI, he breathed. Chen came through. She must have survived the... He stopped. Maya joined him at the window and felt her stomach drop. The parking lot was full of federal vehicles, SUVs, tactical vans, the machinery of official response. Maybe 20 agents in FBI windbreakers, setting up a perimeter, weapons drawn. But there were two distinct groups, and they weren't working together. On one side, a woman Maya recognized from Ghost's phone, Agent Sarah Chen, alive despite the gunshots Maya had heard. She was wounded, her arm in a makeshift sling, but standing firm with maybe 8 agents backing her up. On the other side, a man in an expensive suit, silver-haired and distinguished, looking like he belonged on CNN talking about national security. He had a dozen agents with him, all hard-eyed and professional. The two groups were pointing guns at each other. Wade, Ghost whispered. Son of a bitch is here. He must have tracked Chen's response team. As if summoned by his name, Wade's voice carried clearly through the broken windows. Agent Chen, stand down. You're out of your jurisdiction and operating without authorization. Hand over Agent Cross and any civilians immediately. Chen's response was equally clear. Cross is operating under my authority on a sanctioned investigation into federal corruption. You're the subject of that investigation, Assistant Director Wade. I strongly suggest you holster your weapon and submit to questioning. Wade's laugh was smooth, practiced. You're accusing a 20-year veteran of the FBI of corruption based on the word of a rogue agent who just murdered 30 people with explosives? That's your play? The evidence speaks for itself. What evidence? Some files that could easily be fabricated? Some recordings that are inadmissible without proper warrant? You've got nothing, Chen. Now hand over Cross before this gets ugly. It's already ugly. The new voice made everyone turn. Kingpin emerged from the tree line on a motorcycle, and behind him came what remained of the Hells Angels, maybe 50 riders, all armed, all wearing expressions that said they'd seen hell and were ready to drag everyone else down with them. They formed a loose semicircle behind Chen's position, engines idling, guns visible. Wade's agents shifted nervously. Chen looked equally uncomfortable. No one had expected bikers to crash a federal standoff. Kingpin killed his engine and dismounted slowly, deliberately. His clothes were still covered in blood and ash. His face was a mask of controlled fury. Assistant Director Thomas Wade. The man who's been running drugs and hit money through my organization for 3 years. The man whose corruption got 30 of my brothers blown to pieces. I don't know what you think you know, Wade started. I know everything. Kingpin's voice was cold steel. Cross recorded it all. Every conversation. Every transaction. Every order you gave to kill witnesses. He looked at Chen. Agent Chen. I'm going to make you an offer, and you're going to accept it because it's the only way any of us leave here alive. Chen's eyes narrowed. What offer? The cartel killed my people. Wade enabled them. Help us take them both down, testify to everything you've documented, use our testimony about the transport operation, and I guarantee my club cooperates fully. We'll turn on the cartels, expose the routes, give you everything. In exchange for what? Kingpin's smile was razors. Immunity for our testimony. And Ghost stays with us until we get our 8 million back. Then you can have him. That's not how, Chen started. Wade pulled his gun and shot her. The bullet took Chen in the shoulder, her good shoulder, since the other was already wounded. She went down hard, and chaos erupted. Chen's agents opened fire on Wade's team. Wade's corrupt agents fired back. The Hells Angels opened up on everyone who looked like a threat, their automatic weapons turning the parking lot into a killing field. Ghost grabbed Maya and Marcus, dragging them back into the building. Stay down. Get to the back room. But Maya was frozen, watching through the window as people died. Agent Shin crawling behind a vehicle, leaving a blood trail. Wade taking cover, barking orders. Kingpin charging forward on foot, pistol in each hand, roaring his brothers' names like a prayer or a curse. Then more vehicles arrived, the black Suburbans, the cartel's signature ride, skidding into the parking lot and disgorging sicarios who didn't care which federal agents were corrupt and which were clean. They just started shooting everyone. El Fantasma's voice boomed over a loudspeaker, "Lay down your weapons. All of you. Or we execute everyone starting with." He stopped. Maya heard it before she saw it, the whimper, the small sound of terror that no mother could mistake. Through the chaos, through the gunfire and smoke, she saw El Fantasma holding Marcus. Her son. Somehow dragged from the building in the confusion, or maybe taken before they'd even emerged from the tunnel. Marcus, crying, a gun pressed to his small head. Maya's scream cut through the battle. Everyone stopped. FBI, bikers, cartel sicarios, all of them froze as El Fantasma walked into the center of the parking lot holding an 8-year-old hostage. Ms. Johnson. El Fantasma's smile was visible even from a distance. I believe we have unfinished business. You have 1 hour. Bring me Agent Cross and $8 million. Bring them to Highway 89, mile marker 47. Come alone. If I see anyone else, if any vehicle follows you, if I even suspect federal surveillance, he pressed the gun harder against Marcus's temple. I mail your son back to you in pieces. 1 piece per hour. Starting with his fingers. He dragged Marcus toward a Suburban. The boy was screaming now, reaching for Maya, calling for his mother with a desperation that would haunt her forever if she lived long enough to remember. Mama. Mama. The Suburban's door slammed. El Fantasma's convoy roared away, cutting through the battle like it didn't exist, because to them it didn't. They had what they came for. The shooting resumed, but Maya couldn't hear it anymore. Couldn't hear anything except Marcus's screams echoing in her skull. Ghost grabbed her arm. Maya, we can track him. The money has GPS chips in the bands. Get the money. Maya's voice was dead. Get all of it. Every dollar. Ghost's face went white. Maya. Get the money. He ran back to where they'd left the duffel bags. Started dragging them out. Maya counted them mechanically. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 bags. She'd seen him load 4 bags. He'd said $8 million. Maya unzipped the first bag. Counted the stacks mechanically. Each stack was $10,000. Each bag held approximately 150 stacks. $1.5 million per bag. 4 bags. $6 million. Where's the rest? Maya's voice was calm, distant, like it belonged to someone else. You said 8 million. I'm looking at 6. Ghost wouldn't meet her eyes. It's complicated. Maya grabbed him by the throat, slammed him against the wall with strength she didn't know she possessed. My son is going to be tortured and murdered because you don't have enough money to buy him back. Where is the rest? It was never 8 million. Ghost choked out. Wade added 2 million of his own dirty money to the shipment to inflate the theft, make it a bigger case, justify the resources to kill everyone involved. The cartel only gave us 6 million. The other 2 never existed except on Wade's paperwork. Maya released him. Staggered backward. 6 million. She had $6 million and an hour to deliver 8 million or watch her son die. The math was simple and impossible. Outside, the battle was ending. Bodies everywhere. Chen was down, maybe dead. Kingpin was wounded but standing. Wade was fleeing into the trees, his corrupt agents covering his retreat. The cartel's remaining sicarios were pulling back, their job done. They'd recovered their leverage and left the rest to kill each other. Ghost grabbed Maya's shoulders. We can call El Fantasma back. Explain about the money. Negotiate. Negotiate? Maya's laugh was broken glass. Men like him don't negotiate. They punish. They make examples. Her phone rang. Not her phone. Ghost's phone, the one he'd given her, the one El Fantasma must have taken from Marcus when he grabbed him. She answered. Ms. Johnson. El Fantasma's voice was pleasant, conversational. I assume Agent Cross has told you about the discrepancy in the payment. $2 million short. That is unfortunate. Please, Maya whispered. Please, he's just a child. He doesn't know anything, he's not part of this. But he is part of it. You made him part of it when you opened your door. When you showed mercy to strangers who didn't deserve it. When you chose compassion over survival. El Fantasma's voice softened, almost sympathetic. Your kindness was beautiful, Miss Johnson. But beauty doesn't pay debts. I'll get you the money. However much you want. Just please don't hurt. 1 hour. Highway 89, mile marker 47. $6 million and Agent Cross. That's the new deal. Your son's life for the money and the man who started this. Come alone. But you said 8. I'm feeling generous. Your boy's fear is quite compelling. 1 hour, Ms. Johnson. Don't be late. The line went dead. Maya looked at Ghost. At the duffel bags full of blood money. At the parking lot full of bodies, federal agents, bikers, sicarios, all dead because one man had decided to play hero without counting the cost. $6 million in you, she said. That's the price for my son. Ghost nodded slowly. I'll go. I was always going to go. This was always how it had to end. No. A new voice, strong despite the pain. Agent Chen was sitting up, clutching her wounded shoulders, her face pale but determined. You can't trade yourself. The moment El Fantasma has you and the evidence, he kills everyone. That's how the cartel works. They don't leave witnesses, and they definitely don't honor deals with civilians. Then what do we do? Maya's voice cracked. How do I save my son? Chen looked at Kingpin, who'd limped over to join them. At Ghost. At the wreckage of the battle around them. We work together, Chen said. FBI, bikers, even Cross's rogue operation. We pool everything we have and we hit El Fantasma with so much coordinated violence that he doesn't have time to hurt Marcus before we take him down. That's suicide, Kingpin said. He's got 20 sicarios, military weapons, and he's expecting a trap. Then we give him what he expects. Chen's smile was grim. And then we give him something worse. Maya looked at them all, criminals, federal agents, a rogue operative who'd destroyed her life to save his conscience. An impossible alliance born from impossible circumstances. 1 hour to save her son. $6 million and a plan built on desperation. And somewhere on Highway 89, El Fantasma was waiting with a gun to an 8-year-old boy's head, counting down the minutes until he could send a message written in the blood of innocence. The clock was ticking. And Maya Johnson, widow, mother, woman who'd only wanted to save strangers from a storm, had to decide whether to trust the monsters who'd promised to save her from other monsters. Tell me the plan, she said. Chen nodded. First, we need more firepower. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 7. Maya had 47 minutes to save her son's life. The War Council assembled in the ruins of the ranger station felt surreal, Agent Chen pressing gauze to her bleeding shoulder, Kingpin counting weapons with the methodical calm of a man who'd lost everything, Ghost spreading maps across a splintered table while sirens wailed in the distance. The exchange point is exposed, Chen said, studying the satellite image Ghost had pulled up on a tablet. Highway 89, mile marker 47. There's an old meatpacking plant there, abandoned since the 90s. Open ground, multiple sight lines. El Fantasma chose it because it's a kill box. The moment you show up, his sicarios have you in a crossfire. So we surround the perimeter, Kingpin said. My boys on bikes, your FBI agents in tactical positions, we close the net when Maya makes the exchange. And Marcus dies in the first 10 seconds of gunfire, Maya interrupted. Her voice was steady, cold, empty of everything except purpose. El Fantasma isn't stupid. He'll have spotters. The moment he sees your bikes or federal vehicles, he puts a bullet in my son's brain. Then what do you suggest? Chen asked gently. Maya looked at each of them, the federal agent who'd been shot twice trying to do the right thing, the biker president who'd lost 30 brothers to Ghost's trap, the rogue operative who'd turned her life into a weapon. They all wanted to help. They all had plans, strategies, tactical advantages. None of them were mothers. I go alone, Maya said. Just me, the money, and Ghost. Exactly what El Fantasma demanded. That's suicide, Ghost said flatly. That's survival. For Marcus. Maya turned to face him fully. You said you needed me alive. You said keeping me breathing became personal. Prove it. Walk into that plant with me and trade yourself for my son. And then El Fantasma kills all three of you, Kingpin said. These men don't honor deals, Maya. They make examples. Then I die with my son instead of living without him. Maya's voice didn't waver. That's my choice. Mine. Not yours, not the FBI's, not Ghost's grand plan. Mine. The silence was suffocating. Chen broke it first. If you go alone, at least take comms. We can position teams outside the perimeter, far enough that El Fantasma spotters won't see them. When you have Marcus, when you're clear, we move in. No. Maya shook her head. No wires, no backup, no last-minute rescue attempts. The moment El Fantasma suspects a trap, Marcus dies. I won't risk it. Maya, Ghost started. I'm going alone, Maya repeated. With the money. That's final. She walked out before anyone could argue further, heading toward the vehicle Ghost had stashed, a nondescript Honda with Montana plates and a trunk full of duffel bags worth 6 million reasons to die. Behind her, she heard Chen and Kingpin arguing, Ghost's voice rising in protest. Let them argue. Let them plan their tactical responses and federal interventions. She was done being a pawn in other people's wars. A hand grabbed her arm, not rough, but firm. Viper stood there, her wounded shoulder bandaged but her eyes sharp, calculating. The woman who'd hunted her through the forest, who'd threatened to use Marcus as bait, who'd killed without hesitation when Kingpin gave the order. You're lying, Viper said quietly. You're not going alone. You're too smart for that. Maya met her eyes. Let go of me. I'll make you a deal. Viper's voice dropped to a whisper. Help you save your boy. But I want something in return. I don't have anything you want. The missing 2 million. Viper's eyes gleamed. Ghost hid it somewhere. You know where. Tell me, and I'll be your backup. Hidden, professional, no one needs to know. Just you, me, and a sniper rifle making sure Marcus walks out alive. Maya's mind raced. She had no idea where the missing 2 million was, if it even existed beyond Wade's fabricated paperwork. But Viper didn't know that. And a professional killer in Overwatch position might be the only advantage Maya could get. Okay, Maya lied. The money's in a safety deposit box in Helena. Keys hidden in my house, false bottom in the kitchen flour canister. Help me save Marcus, and it's yours. Viper studied her face for a long moment. Looking for deception, for weakness, for any sign this was a trap. Whatever she saw must have satisfied her, because she nodded. I'll follow you in my own vehicle. Stay a mile back. When you go in, I'll find high ground with a rifle. Anything goes wrong, I drop Sicarios until you can run. Deal? Deal. They shook hands, two women who tried to kill each other hours ago, now bound by a lie and the desperate hope that violence could somehow save innocence. Maya got in the Honda. Viper disappeared into the trees toward wherever the Hells Angels had stashed their vehicles. Ghost appeared at her window. Maya, you can't. Get in. Maya's voice was iron. You wanted to be the monster who saves me? Prove it. Get in the car. He got in. They drove in silence, the $6 million in the trunk and 41 minutes left on the clock. The meatpacking plant rose from the Montana landscape like a tombstone, 3 stories of corrugated metal and broken windows, surrounded by empty parking lots and rusted equipment. Dawn was breaking, painting the sky the colors of bruises and blood. Maya pulled into the lot exactly on time. Her hands were steady on the wheel, her breathing controlled. Everything inside her was screaming, but mothers learned to silence their screams. Learned to function through terror because children needed them to. Last chance, Ghost said. We can still call Chen. Coordinate an assault. No. Maya killed the engine. We do this clean, or Marcus dies. Help me carry the bags. They loaded the duffel bags onto a wheeled cart someone had left in the parking lot, probably for exactly this kind of exchange. $6 million in cash, heavy enough to break backs but light enough to buy a child's life. Maybe. The plant's main entrance gaped open, darkness beyond. Maya pushed the cart forward, Ghost walking beside her, both of them exposed and vulnerable in the empty lot. Ms. Johnson. El Phantasma's voice echoed from speakers somewhere inside the building. Punctual. I appreciate that. Please, come inside. Bring the money and Agent Cross. Leave any weapons outside. Ghost had a pistol in his waistband. He set it on the ground. Maya had Daniel's old hunting knife strapped to her ankle, the one thing Viper's people had missed during their searches. She kept it hidden. They stepped into the darkness. The interior was vast, an old processing floor, the equipment long since stripped away, leaving only concrete and metal supports and shadows that could hide a dozen men. Emergency lighting provided just enough illumination to see shapes but not details. In the center of the space, Marcus sat in a chair, his hands zip-tied in front of him, his face streaked with tears. Alive. Whole. Terrified but breathing. Maya's knees almost buckled with relief. El Phantasma stood behind Marcus, one hand resting almost gently on the boy's shoulder. Around them, 20 Sicarios in tactical gear, rifles raised, forming a circle of death. The money, El Phantasma said. Count it, por favor. 2 Sicarios moved forward, unzipped the duffel bags, began counting with practiced efficiency. Maya watched their faces, saw the count slow, saw confusion flicker across their features. 6 million, one of them said in Spanish. Solo cease. El Phantasma's pleasant expression didn't change, but his hand tightened on Marcus's shoulder. The boy whimpered. Miss Johnson, El Phantasma said softly. We agreed on 8 million. I was generous, reduced my price from the original demand. And you bring me 6. That seems disrespectful. Ghost never stole 8 million. Maya's voice rang out, desperate and true. It was 6. The FBI lied to you. Check the evidence, check Ghost's files. Assistant Director Wade added 2 million of his own dirty money to inflate the case. El Phantasma's eyes narrowed. Explain. Wade was using your cartel money to fund his own operations, assassinations, black ops, things that needed off-book funding. When Ghost stole the 6 million you actually paid, Wade panicked. He added 2 million of his own dirty money to the shipment manifests, made it look like Ghost stole 8 million. Bigger theft, bigger response, justification to kill everyone involved and bury the truth. Ghost stepped forward, slowly pulling out his tablet. It's all in the files. Bank records. Transfer histories. Wade's offshore accounts. He played you, El Fantasma. Made you think the Hells Angels lost 8 million when they only ever had 6. Made you kill your own courier network over money that never existed. El Fantasma took the tablet, studied it with the careful attention of a man whose life depended on details. His face remained neutral, but Maya saw the calculation in his eyes. The anger building behind the mask. Wade used you, Ghost continued. Used you as a cleanup crew to kill everyone who knew the truth. You were never recovering stolen money, you were eliminating witnesses to federal corruption. El Fantasma handed the tablet back. Looked at Maya. At Marcus. At the $6 million that represented every truth and lie that had brought them to this moment. So Wade lied to my employers. Made them believe we'd lost 8 million to justify, what? A federal response? To justify killing me, killing the Hells Angels who might testify, and killing any civilian witnesses. Ghost's voice was steady. You were his murder weapon, El Fantasma. And he was planning to dispose of you too, the moment the job was done. Interesting theory. El Fantasma smiled. But it doesn't change my problem. My employers paid 6 million for a dead federal judge. They got nothing, no dead judge, no returned money, just a story about FBI corruption. I can't return to Mexico with 6 million and a story. I need 8 million, or I need enough bodies to justify the loss. He pulled a knife from his belt, long, serrated, the kind designed for butchering meat or humans. Pressed it against Marcus's throat. So we'll start with the boy. The window exploded. Not shattered, exploded, glass and frame disintegrating as Viper's rifle shot took the Sicario closest to Marcus in the head. He dropped like a puppet with cut strings. Sniper, someone shouted in Spanish. Chaos erupted. Sicarios dove for cover, weapons swinging toward windows. El Fantasma grabbed Marcus, using him as a human shield, backing toward a secondary exit. Maya ran. Not away, toward her son, toward the monster holding him, toward the knife that was one panicked movement away from ending everything that mattered. She didn't think. Didn't plan. Just moved with the primal desperation of a mother who'd lost everything except her child. Another rifle shot. Another Sicario down. Viper was systematically eliminating targets, buying seconds with bullets. Maya reached El Fantasma as he turned to flee. Threw herself at him, grabbing for Marcus, for the knife, for anything that would separate predator from prey. The knife slashed. Maya felt fire across her ribs, felt blood bloom hot and wet, but her hand closed on Marcus's arm and she pulled. Marcus came free, stumbling, and Maya pushed him down, covered him with her body as gunfire erupted in every direction. Maya, down. Ghost's voice, and she flattened as he fired over her head, taking out the Sicario who'd been drawing a bead on them. Then the walls exploded. Literally exploded, shaped charges blowing 3 sections of corrugated metal inward, and through the gaps roared motorcycles. Dozens of them. Kingpin and the Hells Angels, riding into a firefight with guns blazing and engines screaming. FBI. Nobody move. Chen's voice through a bullhorn, and federal agents in tactical gear poured through the main entrance, the standoff abandoned in favor of saving civilian lives. The meatpacking plant became a war zone. 3-way firefight, Sicarios versus FBI versus Hells Angels, everyone shooting at everyone else, the air thick with cordite and screaming and the thunder of weapons designed to kill at range. Maya curled around Marcus, making herself a shield, feeling bullets punch through metal supports above her head, feeling the impact tremors of bodies hitting concrete. Cease fire. A new voice, amplified and commanding. Cease fire or everyone dies. The shooting slowed. Stopped. Wade stood in the center of the chaos, holding a small device with a red button. His expensive suit was torn, his silver hair disheveled, but his eyes were wild with desperation and malice. I wired this entire building, he said, voice echoing in the sudden silence. C4, professionally placed, more than enough to bring the whole structure down and bury every piece of evidence with it. Everyone dies, or I walk out of here free and clear. Your choice. No one moved. Wade smiled. That's what I thought. Now, everyone drop your weapons. Chen, call off your response teams. Kingpin, tell your psychotic bikers to stand down. Ghost, his eyes found the rogue agent. You especially. Drop the gun, or I blow us all to kingdom come. Weapons clattered to concrete. Slowly, reluctantly, but they dropped. Wade backed toward an exit, keeping the detonator visible. Smart. Now, I'm going to leave. No one follows, no one shoots. In 24 hours, when I'm safely across the border, I'll send you the code to disarm the explosives. Maybe. Depends on my mood. He was 5 feet from freedom when Ghost spoke. You forgot something, Wade. Ghost stepped from the shadows. No, not from shadows. From behind one of the metal supports, where he'd been hiding the entire firefight. Except that was impossible, because Ghost had been next to Maya, had shot the Sicario, had 2 ghosts. One bleeding from multiple wounds, one pristine and calm. The wounded one smiled. I'm FBI too. I know all your tricks. Including the one where you wire a building but keep the real detonator on you at all times because you don't trust anyone. He raised his pistol. Shot the detonator out of Wade's hand. The device exploded in a shower of sparks and plastic. Wade screamed, clutching his mangled fingers. That was for my real handler, Ghost said. Agent Sarah Chen, who you murdered in her own office. He shot Wade in the kneecap. Wade collapsed, screaming. That was for the 17 people on your kill list. Another shot. Wade's other kneecap. More screaming. That was for the 30 bikers who died in my trap because you tipped off El Fantasma. Ghost walked closer, his gun trained on Wade's head. The assembled audience, FBI agents, bikers, sicarios, everyone, watched in frozen horror. Ghost, don't, Chen's voice, pleading. Don't do this. We have him. We can bring him to trial. Some men don't deserve trials. Ghost's voice was empty, mechanical. He looked at Maya, at Marcus trembling in her arms. Some men deserve exactly what they gave others. Quick. Clean. Final. He pulled the trigger. Wade's head snapped back. Blood and brain matter painted the concrete. The body slumped, twitched, went still. Silence. Ghost lowered the weapon. Looked at Chen. Consider that my resignation from the FBI, effective immediately. Chen stared at him, at the body, at the murder she'd just witnessed from her own partner. Her face was white, her lips trembling. You just executed a federal officer. In front of 50 witnesses. I executed a traitor who killed 17 innocent people and tried to murder dozens more. Ghost's voice was steady. Arrest me if you want. But you'll need to arrest everyone who stood here and watched. Including the cartel sicarios who were trying to kill you 5 minutes ago. El Fantasma laughed, sharp, surprised. Agent Cross, you are full of surprises. I came here to kill you, and instead you give me a show worth more than $8 million. He looked at his sicarios. Stand down. Lower your weapons. They obeyed, looking confused but compliant. El Fantasma walked to where the $6 million sat in duffel bags. Studied it thoughtfully. Then looked at Maya, still shielding Marcus on the blood-stained floor. Ms. Johnson, he said. You were correct. Wade lied to my employers. The money was only ever $6 million. For this information, and for the entertainment of watching that bastard die, I will accept this as payment in full. He gestured to his men. Load the bags. We're leaving. Just like that? Chen asked. You're just walking away. I came for money and justice. I'm leaving with both. El Phantasma smiled at Ghost. Agent Cross, if you ever tire of law enforcement, my employers pay very well for men with your particular skills. I'll keep that in mind. The Sicarios loaded the money, piled into vehicles, and drove away as the sunrise turned the Montana sky gold and rose. Chen holstered her weapon, turned to Ghost. You know I have to report this. You just committed murder. You'll report that Assistant Director Thomas Wade was killed in a firefight while resisting arrest, Ghost interrupted. Because that's what happened. Multiple witnesses, all of whom will testify that Wade opened fire first and was shot in self-defense during a federal operation. That's a lie. That's survival. Ghost looked around at the assembled faces, bikers, agents, even El Phantasma's remaining Sicarios who hadn't left yet. Anyone here see it differently? Silence. No one spoke. No one contradicted him. Because sometimes, in the space between law and justice, people chose the latter. Chen closed her eyes. When she opened them, they were hard. Fine. We'll process this scene and take statements. Everyone's story better match, or we all go down. She looked at Maya. You and Marcus need medical attention. Then you need to disappear for a very long time. Maya stood slowly, helping Marcus to his feet. Her son was shaking but alive, whole, breathing. That was all that mattered. Ghost approached her, blood-covered and hollow-eyed. I'm sorry doesn't cover it. I know that. But for what it's worth. Maya slapped him. Hard enough to snap his head sideways. Hard enough to leave a red mark across his cheek. You used my son, she said quietly. You turned him into a weapon. You destroyed my life to save your conscience. She looked at Marcus, then back at Ghost. But you also saved him. Killed for him. Gave up your career, your freedom, everything you had to make sure he walked out of here alive. She stepped closer, voice dropping to a whisper only he could hear. I'll never forgive you. But I'll remember you saved him. That has to be enough. Ghost nodded. No apology. No justification. Just acceptance. Maya took Marcus's hand and walked toward Chen's waiting vehicle, toward medical attention and witness protection and a new life built on the ashes of everything she'd lost. Behind her, Ghost stood in the ruins of the meatpacking plant, surrounded by bodies and blood and the cost of choosing justice over law. He'd executed a corrupt federal officer. Destroyed his career. Burned every bridge he'd ever built. And saved one 8-year-old boy whose only crime had been getting sick during a blizzard. Some men don't deserve trials, he'd said. And sometimes, monsters were the only things standing between innocence and the abyss. The sun rose higher, burning away the shadows, revealing the aftermath of a war fought in darkness. And Maya Johnson, widow and mother and unwitting pawn in a federal conspiracy, held her son close and drove toward whatever tomorrow might hold. Broken. Traumatized. But alive. Together. And for now, that was enough. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 8. 3 months later. The federal courthouse in Helena stood like a monument to justice, all marble columns and brass fixtures, the kind of building designed to make citizens feel small and the law feel absolute. Maya Johnson sat in the witness chair, her hand on a Bible, and swore to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. She'd been telling the truth for 3 months now. To FBI investigators, to Department of Justice prosecutors, to the grand jury that had convened to untangle the web of corruption that had nearly killed her and her son. The truth had become a weight she carried, heavy as grief, sharp as broken glass. Ms. Johnson, the prosecutor said gently. Can you describe the events of January 23rd, when you first encountered the individuals claiming to be stranded bikers? Maya's voice was steady. She'd told this story so many times it had stopped feeling like memory and started feeling like testimony, sanitized, official, stripped of the terror that still woke her screaming at 3 a.m. She told them about the storm. The fever. The knock on her door. She did not tell them about the nightmares. About how she couldn't look at her kitchen without seeing blood. About how Marcus still flinched at the sound of motorcycles. Some truths weren't meant for courtrooms. The testimony lasted 4 hours. When it was over, Agent Chen, promoted to assistant director after Wade's death in the line of duty, met her in the hallway with coffee and something that might have been sympathy. "You did good in there," Chen said. "The grand jury will indict by end of week. 12 agents in Wade's network, all going down for conspiracy, murder, obstruction. The cartel's financial network is being dismantled as we speak. The Hells Angels got full immunity for their cooperation." She paused. "You exposed the biggest corruption scandal in bureau history, Maya. The whole nation knows your name now." Maya didn't feel like a hero. She felt like a woman who'd opened her door to strangers and watched her entire life burn as consequence. "My house," she said quietly. "Any update on the insurance claim?" Chen's face fell. "It's complicated. The insurance company is claiming the damage was caused by criminal activity, which isn't covered under standard homeowner policies. They're fighting the payout." Of course they were. Because Maya's compassion had turned her home into a battlefield, and insurance companies didn't pay for acts of war. "So I lost everything." Maya's voice was flat. "My house, my husband's belongings, the life we built. All of it, gone because I chose to help people." "Not everything." Chen pulled out her phone, showed Maya a webpage. "This went viral 2 weeks ago. GoFundMe, help Maya Johnson rebuild." Maya Johnson is an American hero. When federal agents and motorcycle club members were stranded in a deadly blizzard, she opened her home without hesitation, an act of pure compassion that inadvertently exposed one of the largest corruption scandals in FBI history. Her reward? Her house destroyed, her life upended, her 8-year-old son traumatized. Let's show Maya that Americans take care of their heroes. Below the text, a fundraising thermometer showing $2,347,892 raised. Maya stared at the number. $2 million. 2.3, as of this morning. People all over the country contributed. Teachers, veterans, stay-at-home parents, everyone who saw your story and wanted to help. You're not alone, Maya. You never were. For the first time in 3 months, Maya felt something other than emptiness. Not quite hope, hope was too fragile, too easily broken. But possibility. The possibility that kindness might be rewarded instead of punished. That the world might contain more good than evil, even after everything she'd seen. "Thank you," she whispered. "For starting this. For believing. I didn't start it." Chen smiled. "Some anonymous donor did. Created the page, made the first contribution, $100,000, and it snowballed from there. By the time we traced it, the donor had disappeared. Used cryptocurrency, routed through offshore servers. Very professional." Maya knew who'd started it. Knew with absolute certainty, even though she'd never be able to prove it. Ghost. Still protecting her. Still trying to balance scales that would never be even. Marcus was waiting in the courthouse lobby, playing a handheld game under the watchful eye of his therapist, a kind woman named Dr. Sarah who specialized in childhood trauma. He looked up when Maya approached, and his smile was genuine, untainted by fear. Therapy was working. Slowly, painfully, but working. "Mama. I got to level 17. He held up the game, eager to share his achievement. Maya knelt, pulled him close, breathed in the little boy's smell of him, shampoo and fruit snacks and innocence gradually returning. "That's amazing, baby. You're so smart. Dr. Sarah says I'm processing my experiences in healthy ways," Marcus announced proudly, parroting language he didn't fully understand but wore like armor. "You are. I'm so proud of you." They walked out into Montana sunshine, into a world that looked normal but would never feel normal again. The FBI had provided a safe house for the first month, then helped Maya relocate to Missoula, a city large enough to disappear in but small enough to feel like community. She'd bought a modest house with part of the GoFundMe money. 2 bedrooms, a fenced yard, good schools nearby. Nothing like the farmhouse she'd lost, but clean and safe and blessedly free of memories. The rest of the money went into a non-profit she'd founded, Second Chance Advocates, an organization dedicated to helping civilians caught in federal investigations, providing legal aid, counseling, and financial support for people whose lives were destroyed by proximity to crime. She was turning her nightmare into purpose. It was the only way forward she could imagine. 2 weeks later. The package arrived on a Tuesday. Plain brown paper, no return address, postmarked from Seattle but bearing stamps from 3 different countries: Mexico, Thailand, Argentina. Like the sender had bounced it through multiple locations to obscure its origin. Maya opened it in her kitchen while Marcus was at school, and her hands shook when she saw what was inside. Cash. Stacks and stacks of $100 bills, shrink-wrapped and professional, filling a box that had been carefully weighted to avoid suspicion. $2 million. And a note, handwritten in the careful script she recognized from 3 months ago. Maya. This was always yours. Not stolen, not tainted, this is the money Wade claimed existed but never did. I found his offshore accounts, the $2 million he'd skimmed from other operations and planned to use as evidence against me. He doesn't need it anymore. You saved my life in that storm. Not just physically, but morally. I'd become something hollow, something that measured success in arrests and convictions instead of lives protected. You reminded me why I became an agent in the first place, to help people who couldn't help themselves. Use this to rebuild. Protect Marcus. Give him the life he deserves, the one I took from him when I turned your home into a battleground. Tell him I'm sorry. Tell him the nice man with the medicine hopes he never stops believing in dinosaurs and kindness. And if anyone ever asks where this came from, you never knew. You found it, reported it, did everything by the book. Because you're the kind of person who does things right, even when the world punishes you for it. I'm gone now. Really gone. The FBI lists me as deceased, killed in the meatpacking plant firefight, body never recovered. Let them believe it. Let everyone believe it. Agent Daniel Cross died the moment he pulled that trigger on Wade. Whatever I am now, whoever I become, he's dead and buried. Thank you for the shelter. Thank you for the reminder that good people still exist. I hope you find peace. Ghost. P.S. The postcards will stop after this. I promised myself I'd check on you one last time, make sure you landed safely. Now I keep that promise by leaving you alone. You deserve a life without ghosts. Maya read the note 3 times. Then she walked to her fireplace, struck a match, and burned it. Watched the paper curl and blacken and turn to ash, taking Ghost's confession with it. The money sat on her kitchen table, 2 million reasons to call Agent Chen and do the right thing. For a long moment, Maya just stared at it. Thought about Marcus's college fund. About the nonprofit's operating costs. About the house repairs she'd been putting off, the therapy bills mounting, the future that cost more than compassion should require. Then she smiled. For the first time in 3 months, a real smile, unforced and genuine. She picked up her phone and dialed Chen's number. Agent Chen? It's Maya. I need to report some found property. Anonymous package, no return address. Looks like, well, you should probably come see this yourself. Chen arrived within an hour, bringing forensics teams and evidence bags and all the machinery of federal investigation. She documented the money, photographed the packaging, asked careful questions about timing and delivery. You did the right thing, Chen said, watching her team load the cash into secured containers. Reporting this. Most people wouldn't. Most people didn't have their lives destroyed by trying to help, Maya said. I learned my lesson about taking things that don't belong to me. For what it's worth, we'll probably never trace this. Ghost, whoever he really was, knew how to disappear. Chen looked at Maya with something like respect. The money will go into evidence, then eventually federal asset forfeiture. Given your circumstances, I can probably make sure a substantial portion comes back to you as restitution. Not all of it, but enough. That's not why I reported it. I know. That's why you'll get it. After Chen left, after the forensics teams cleared out, Maya stood in her empty kitchen and felt lighter. She'd been tested one final time, tempted with money that no one would ever miss, money that could solve every problem she faced. And she'd chosen honesty. Not because she was a hero. Not because she was better than anyone else. But because Marcus was watching. Learning. Building his understanding of right and wrong based on what his mother did when she thought no one was looking. That was worth more than $2 million. That was worth everything. 1 month later. The package from the Hells Angels arrived with ceremony. Kingpin himself delivered it, riding up to Maya's new house on a chrome-heavy Harley that probably cost more than her mortgage. He wore his colors proudly. The winged skull patch that had once terrified her now looked almost familiar. Ms. Johnson. He removed his sunglasses, and Maya saw that the deadness had left his eyes. He'd grieved his 30 brothers, honored them, and found something like peace. May I come in? Marcus was home, doing homework at the kitchen table. He looked up, saw Kingpin, and smiled. You're the motorcycle man. You gave Mama the blankets. Kingpin's face softened. I did. How are you, Marcus? Feeling better? Much better. Dr. Sarah says my trauma responses are decreasing in frequency and intensity. The boy beamed, proud of his clinical vocabulary. That's good. Real good. Kingpin looked at Maya. I won't take much of your time. Just wanted to deliver something the club voted on. Unanimous decision. He handed her a package wrapped in leather. Inside was a jacket, custom-made, black leather with careful stitching and the Hells Angels winged skull on the back. But instead of the usual Hells Angels MC text, it read, The Angel Who Sheltered Angels. Below that, in smaller script, Honorary Member, Montana Chapter. You saved 25 men in that storm, Kingpin said quietly. Doesn't matter that they weren't really bikers. Doesn't matter how it all played out. You opened your door when you could have left us to freeze. The club doesn't forget that kind of honor. Maya touched the leather, the careful stitching, the weight of acceptance from people who lived by different rules but understood loyalty better than most. I don't know what to say. Say you'll accept our protection. Any Hells Angel, any charter, anywhere in North America, they see that jacket, they'll treat you like family. You or your boy ever need help, you call. We come running. He handed her a card with a phone number. There's one more thing. Kingpin pulled out a legal document. The club's established a trust fund for Marcus. $500,000 for his education. Full ride to any college he wants, and anything left over is his when he turns 25. Our way of saying sorry for the nightmares we brought to your door. Maya's throat closed. You don't have to. We do. My brothers died because of choices Ghost made, but they were in your house when it happened. On your property. That makes it our debt. Kingpin's voice was firm. Let us pay it. Let us honor the good you did before everything went to hell. She accepted the document. The jacket. The card. And when Kingpin left, she carefully folded the jacket and put it in her closet, next to Daniel's old uniform. 2 symbols of different kinds of service, different kinds of honor. Marcus came over, curious. Mama, are you in a motorcycle gang now? No, baby. But I have friends who ride motorcycles. Friends who'll help us if we ever need it. That's nice. Friends are important. He went back to his homework, already moving past strangeness into the resilient normalcy of childhood. Maya watched him and felt something she'd thought was dead forever. Hope. 6 months after the storm. Maya stood in the office of Second Chance Advocates, looking at the wall of photos, clients they'd helped, families reunited, lives rebuilt after being caught in the crossfire of federal investigations. 43 people in 6 months. 43 second chances. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough to balance the scales of what she'd lost. But it was something. It was purpose. It was taking her nightmare and turning it into salvation for others. The doorbell rang. Maya answered it, expecting a client. Instead, she found a small package on her doorstep. No delivery person. No postage. Just a box wrapped in brown paper with her name written in familiar handwriting. The last package. The last contact. Ghost keeping his promise one final time before disappearing forever. She brought it inside, opened it carefully. Inside, a photograph. It showed a younger Ghost, clean-shaven, smiling, happiness radiating from his face. He stood with his arm around a woman, dark-haired, pretty, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. A little girl, maybe 5 years old, sat on his shoulders, laughing at something off-camera. A family. Ghost's family. Maya turned the photo over. 3 names written on the back: Daniel Cross, Elena Cross, Sophia Cross. And dates. Birth dates for all 3. Death dates for Elena and Sophia. 3 years ago. The same hit Ghost had told them about, the cartel killing his family. Maya looked closer at Elena's face in the photograph. And felt her blood run cold. The woman looked like her. Not identical, but similar, same bone structure, same dark hair, same way of holding her head. Similar enough that if you weren't paying close attention, if you saw her in a storm with her face half hidden by snow. Ghost hadn't chosen her house randomly. He'd chosen it because she reminded him of his dead wife. Because Marcus was the same age Sophia had been when she died. Because some part of Ghost, broken, desperate, drowning in guilt, had seen a chance to save a ghost of his past. To protect a mother and son when he'd failed to protect his own. The storm, the shelter, the violence, all of it had been Ghost's attempt at redemption. At saving a version of the family he'd lost. Maya sank into a chair, clutching the photograph, understanding everything in a way that was both terrible and heartbreaking. She'd never been random. Never been strategy. Never been just a tactical location. She'd been his second chance. His attempt to save what he'd already lost. And in saving her, he'd lost himself. Mama? Marcus appeared in the doorway. Are you okay? You look sad. Maya wiped her eyes quickly. I'm fine, baby. Just remembering someone who helped us once. The nice man with the medicine? Yes. The nice man. She smiled, broken but genuine. He was trying his best to be good, even when it was hard. That's what heroes do, Marcus said with the certainty of an 8-year-old who still believed in clear lines between good and evil. They try their best even when it's hard. Yeah, baby. That's what heroes do. After Marcus went back to his room, Maya looked at the photograph one last time. At Ghost's dead family. At the man he'd been before grief turned him into a weapon. Then she carefully placed the photo in a locked drawer with other things too painful to display but too important to destroy. She had reported the money. Had done the right thing. Had turned Ghost's final gift into evidence instead of accepting his attempt to buy her forgiveness. But she kept the photograph. Because some ghosts deserve to be remembered. Because some men tried their best to be heroes even when they'd forgotten how. And because Maya Johnson understood, finally and completely, that everyone in that storm, Ghost, Kingpin, even El Phantasma, had been trying to save something they'd already lost. The difference was, she'd succeeded. Marcus was alive. Thriving. Building a future unburdened by his mother's past. That was victory enough. Epilogue. 1 year after the storm, Maya received a postcard. No return address. Postmarked from Iceland. A picture of the northern lights on the front. On the back, one sentence. The boy still believes in dinosaurs? Maya smiled, wrote a single word on a new postcard, and mailed it to a P.O. box in Reykjavik that she knew would forward it through a dozen countries before Ghost ever saw it. Always. She never heard from him again. But sometimes, late at night when Marcus was sleeping and the house was quiet, Maya would stand at her window and look out at the darkness. And she'd remember the storm. The knock on her door. The choice to help strangers who didn't deserve it. She'd made that choice knowing nothing, not knowing about Ghost's dead family, or Wade's corruption, or the war she was inviting into her home. She'd simply chosen compassion. And it had cost her everything and saved her soul. Some choices didn't make sense until years later, when you looked back and saw the threads connecting strangers to salvation, violence to justice, ghosts to redemption. Maya had been an angel who sheltered angels. And in doing so, had reminded monsters what it meant to be human. That was legacy enough. That was everything. I know you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel. Do well to share your thoughts in the comments section below and forward this video to family and friends. Thanks for watching. The end.